that PSP was not the first, but the second time that Quentin spilled Pepto-Bismol on a handheld console.
Second time.
I don't know how
we have two consoles that have Pepto-Bismol.
Why were you taking so much Pepto-Bismol?
It wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. It was just open.
Quentin here. I'm fine, babe.
This is Ethan. Nah, I'm gonna go. Don't worry, Devon's here. This is time. Let's rock and roll!
Welcome to the Power Brothers podcast, where we all sound like we're cursing constantly and our points don't matter.
Just one of us sounds like that, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bleep all of this out.
Just bleep
everything we're saying. You got to bleep
Guys,
it.
our theme is based off of Star Fox.
Fox.
Yes.
Star Fox.
Yes.
Star Fox.
The game that will be remade soon. Or it won't.
Or better, we will get a new game.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's just
Isn't
keep
that what you
remaking
guys
Star
want?
Fox constantly.
We won't delete the channel if it's a remake. If it's a new game, goodbye channel.
New game is done.
Goes away. We delete
That's
it.
We're done. We're a Metroid podcast then.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I don't tell anybody is the channel won't actually be deleted. It'll just become Mario Kart
changes.
theme.
Yeah.
Right.
And we'll
But
get 1 million views.
We definitely
but
will.
we're already getting a Mario Kart. We don't have it. That we have to have a series to revive.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
true.
true.
F-Zero?
F-Zero
Well,
theme?
we never wanted to be
But
F-Zero.
none of us really like F-Zero.
And
That's
they
the
got
problem.
99, which
They
is
got
a new
99.
game.
It's
Yeah,
kinda-
Star Fox has nothing.
I don't know, maybe we should become a Donkey
Nothing.
Kong.
Kid Icarus.
Kid Icarus.
Kid Icarus.
Oh, yeah.
Then we'll really be.
I'd
dead in the
love to do
water.
a deep dive on Kid Icarus Uprising.
It's
Yeah.
great.
Oh yeah, one of the
I mean,
greatest
top-
3DS games ever made.
Yeah, definitely
top
I have the theory that was Bandai Namco's canceled Nintendo game. Nintendo.
Really?
Bandai Namco was making an action game and it got canceled. I think it was that.
Okay.
I think
They are
Sakurai
really
looked at it
terrible.
and said, "This is terrible," and pulled the plug. That's my theory. But hey,
It's possible.
it's just a theory.
I always thought
sponsor
that
us.
Retro,
Matt,
with the game they were working on, that they got pulled to do Prime. I always thought that was a Kid Icarus.
Could have been.
Could have been. Could also be a Donkey
Did
Kong
you know
game.
gaming covered the fact that Retro did pitch a Kid Icarus game that got shot down? So
You know, whenever we talk about like games that might be made and like this kind of subject, the thing I always think about is that weird trophy character thing that was on Reggie Fils-Aimé's desk. That like it was blurred out in a
Yeah.
Nintendo Direct, and then someone caught it in like a mirror, and you could see that it's some kind of character, like some little model of a character that was made for him.
Yeah.
But it's from no one knows what the character is. They can't find it. Like it's not from anything.
Oh,
From some game that never got made.
I'm surprised he hasn't, now that he's retired, that he hasn't just like said what it was.
Have
He's
you
not-
considered that it was something embarrassing, like one of Nintendo's many games that they allow on their eShop that are of a pornographic nature?
Mhm.
Have you
I have
considered that
considered
it's
that.
possible that it
If
was
you
one
don't
of
bleep
those
that word, we're
games?
gonna
I know.
the algorithm's gonna
before Quentin goes any
deprioritize
further
us.
into this, we should probably go to the
news?
news.
I'm here to sell you something. Everybody loves that. I'm going to try to sell you a subscription. Look at my bag of subscriptions. It's real light right now, so hop on in. Give us your soul. Give us your time. Give us your money. Share it with a friend. Share it with your boss. Share it with your priest if you're brave enough for him to see what you watch. And help us reach our subscriber goal of 500 subscribers. That's 500 souls in the bag.
By when?
By September.
He remembered.
Hey,
He did it.
That's called a subscriber sting, and I did it to trick you. There's
And we're
literally-
back.
I was gonna say there's literally no.
Let's try again.
All right.
Rachel, how's the corner?
Oh.
Yeah. Rachel's not feeling good, guys. It's her first episode. You realize this is the first time she hasn't been with us since we got to the news.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is like the old
feels weird.
podcast.
No, you know what?
I
No,
know.
this isn't like the old podcast.
There's not Michael
Because that
B.
filthy
Where is he?
Italian is not over there crunching chips
Where
in my
is
ear.
he? I
Right?
miss him.
I should have
So-
invited him to come. Well,
should've.
actually, we did.
No,
He
we
just
did.
couldn't make it either.
We
so.
did, and he is over. He is
Lame.
over in his shack napping.
You know what?
Confirmed.
When I
True.
go home
He's in
tonight,
the morgue.
when I go
He's
home
in
tonight,
the
I'm gonna
morgue.
pull the channel up. I'm gonna watch one of the OG podcasts
I
just to
missed
sell
it,
it, just to reminisce on
Go
the
back
fact
to
that it's
it.
just. The
I
three
think
of
if
us
we had
again.
stayed in the morgue,
Yeah.
we would be 1 million subscribers by now.
Well,
I think we'd be in the negatives of
yeah,
subscribers.
because it would have
Well,
turned
you
into
know.
like a making a murderer kind of series because
I
I'd
mean,
have killed all.
True
You
y'all.
guys-
crime, yeah, true
You know
crime.
that I'm nothing if not consistent, and I
Sure.
have
I know you're
consistently
nothing.
said that the podcast was better
When
we
it
were
was
in the
worse.
morgue, when we had to stop
Right.
about 100 times
You have to
an
suffer
episode.
for your art.
We
The
weren't as
cameras-
good at it. Yeah.
We weren't
Yeah.
good. The cameras were swapped out at least 3 times a
Gotta
podcast.
suffer
Yeah.
for your art.
Yeah.
And
First episode on the channel right now.
Yeah.
Quentin literally opens by complaining about the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well,
And now he
yeah.
can't anymore.
It's
'cause
lore
so
accurate.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Laura.
Well,
All right,
yeah.
guys, let's get
Yeah.
into the news. I'm
Oh.
producing now.
Yeah.
Producer
Wow.
Devon.
Producer Devon
Devon.
moving us along in his
okay.
totalitarian
We
rule.
really, we really.
I'm not gonna
We're going to
be-
overthrow
I'm just
him.
going to warn
The
everybody.
iron
I'm not going to
fist
be
of
as good
Devon.
as Rachel. Yeah, it's not going to be good. Guys, do you know the hit game Star Fox?
Never heard
Yeah,
of it.
no, is that sounds disgusting.
I know the rumored game Star Fox Race War.
Oh, Star
Oh,
Fox.
right.
where you
That's-
play as
yeah,
a racist.
we broke news
in a,
here.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
a racetrack.
It's
Yeah.
a racetrack.
Yeah, I remember
there are
that
some
one.
more
No,
elements
the
too.
creator,
Yeah.
the artist behind the iconic Star Fox style,
Mm-hmm.
left Nintendo a while back.
Miyamoto.
Nope.
Nothing.
I'm so sorry. I don't remember him, but he appeared right here.
Shigesato
So rude.
E-Toy.
Wow, we
Ciro
love this guy.
Rata Iwata.
This is racist.
Right.
No, his new game just released as of recording
Oh,
today.
Star Fox?
It's out. It's called Omega 6 Triangle Stars.
Wow, that is a bad name.
I think
That's
it's
a
called
bad name.
Omega 6 Triangle Stars. It's
Huh.
based off of his manga that he's made
Right.
for years.
Okay.
It
cool.
looks
Okay.
really good.
Is it like
Ra-
Star Fox?
You would like it, Quentin.
Okay.
It's like an old. Remember those old Star Trek, like not text-based adventures, but it's just like a menu, and you go to a planet,
like okay, yeah, like Starfleet
and then like
Academy
your
kind of games.
character pops up, and then like
Oh,
a
you mean
really
like-
well animated like alien shows up and is talking to you.
You
about
mean
something.
like a
Point and click?
Oh, you mean like the point and click with the
Yeah.
Star,
What's that
Star
one
Trek
that was
30th anniversary?
What's the one of the
and
games
things
that
like
had like the third version of it was made, and then it got like pulled from Steam?
Star Control.
That's the one.
They're remaking it
Kinda,
as
yeah.
True Stars or something.
yeah,
Okay, but
it's that kind of
That's
stuff.
But it's a
Yeah.
classic
Cool.
Star Trek game style.
Sort of like in the same sense that like is like, oh no, he's getting ready to attack you, and then you like play a mini game to like fight the.
Like the
Oh.
hit game Snatcher.
A little
maybe.
bit.
I've never
or
played it.
Undertale.
Yeah.
What? What did you just say to me? What did you just compare Snatcher to Undertale?
I mean, if you think about it, they're basically the same game.
So yeah, go
am
play
taking
pictures,
Omega
games,
6. It's on
murder.
Nintendo Switch.
Oh, it's on Switch.
Yeah.
Oh,
on the
cool.
Nintendo Switch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Maybe-
Wow,
maybe
play
elsewhere.
it. I'll play it on my Nintendo
Quinn
Switch.
only plays games on the Nintendo
He does.
Switch.
the
He does too.
Nintendo Switch. I'll play
Yeah.
it. That's great. Love
Quentin,
that for
Quentin,
him.
you might like this.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I will.
Electronic Arts.
EA.
Yeah, everybody like
favorite-
who doesn't like electronic?
Right.
Yeah, our favorite group.
We
They,
love
what they
'em.
did for the Star Wars brand
It's been
very
amazing.
close to my heart.
No, they did a good. They released
did
the
a good.
source code for Command and Conquer, the
oh,
original.
nice. That's
Oh,
pretty
hey.
cool.
That's cool of them.
Apparently,
Very cool of
it's very complicated and all over the place. So
So
fans
not really worth it.
So
So-
fans are like, "Oh, this is going to be a headache." But a lot of dedicated fans are like, "We're going to put it on the Dreamcast." See, I knew you'd like that.
What? This
Oh.
is great.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Break out the Dreamcast, burn it onto a CD, and
Play
I can have
Command and
Command and Conquer.
Release it, yeah,
Yeah.
I could much more easily play Command and Conquer right now.
on anything else.
It's
on
cool though
anything
to
else,
release the
but
source code
it
for
is
a game.
cool to release
it's
the source
kind
code,
of like
absolutely.
the modern public domain because
I
that's
think
kind of
why not
dead.
at this point?
Why
You're not
not?
going to
Yeah.
use the source
No.
code for Command and Conquer.
Well, I will say, EA is one of those companies that, even though they commit abominations every day,
Right.
they sometimes will say, here is one of those grandma candies that you used to get at church.
Does this make
Right.
everything
Well,
else
what were
okay?
those-
Is everything
Yeah.
else
Were-
okay?
were Werther's
It's your
original?
grandma going, here's the Werther's original. It makes up for all the things I did during the war.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna have to boost your
Your-
vocals for that.
Your
part.
your German grandma,
Yeah.
your German grandma
Right.
said, "Here,
yeah.
enjoy your versus original."
I use these to lure them out from under the floorboards.
And
What,
see-
Grandma? The rats.
Yeah, see, that's all gotta get
Turn
cut
her
now.
into The Hague.
Yeah,
I have to be producer Devon here. Anyways, moving on.
We can't continue with
Guys,
that analogy.
a new 2D Terminator game.
A 2D
has been
Terminator.
announced.
I'm
Terminator.
very excited.
I think it's called Not Hope. I forget.
What a terrible name.
Yeah,
That is
pretty
that's an
bad.
awful name.
it's based on Terminator 2.
Okay,
The good one?
And it's
The
like
one good Terminator
it's like
movie.
it's the return of
fan.
something that I think we haven't seen in a long time. The
Terminator.
the
Yeah,
weird
it's been a while.
the weird movie tie-in.
Yeah.
There was this like phase. I
Except-
feel like it
Love
happened
'em.
right around the end of the DS when like a bunch
Oh, yeah.
of weird movie
The
tie-ins
Alien
came out.
game?
Yeah, the Alien Colonial Marines.
This
I
is
was
more.
gonna say,
this
what
is
No, Alien Infestation.
Infestation.
I don't-
Infestation was
was good.
great.
I don't think it has been a while since we had RoboCop Rogue City.
Oh, we did.
which was
Yeah,
like
you're not wrong.
released like 2 years ago,
yeah,
maybe.
not
This is-
even.
Which
this is
good.
though. This is based. This looks like one of those old arcade games.
Yeah.
Where like it's a run and gun and then like a big like
oh wait, is it Doom?
pixelated-
Is it Doom style or
no, it's
Quake
like
style?
side scrolling like
Oh, it's like
an
it's
actual
Contra style.
Contra style
Oh,
shooter.
nice.
It
Oh,
looks
that's-
really
I like it.
fun.
Hey, that's
Yeah.
terrific.
Big
If you're a
fan.
fan
Okay.
of that style of like old janky
Yeah.
arcade
Yeah. Okay.
movie tie-ins,
Nice.
it looks pretty cool.
You
Very
guys,
cool.
That is pretty cool.
you guys remember that they came out with Star Wars?
Star
on
Wars?
the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Super
And
Star Wars.
Super Star Wars, and in Empire Strikes Back, when you go to Dagobah, the monster from Contra just shows up
Yeah.
at the
It's
end.
literally just
It's
the
literally
monster
just
from
one for
Contra,
one. The
yeah.
monster from Contra
Yeah.
shows up
Okay.
at like the second level of
Yeah.
Dagobah.
It's
Yeah.
like
You
yeah.
don't remember that part in Empire Strikes
It's a
Back?
Right,
nightmare.
yeah, babe.
I mean,
Don't
like,
you
all the
remember
bosses
Yoda gets
in-
eaten by a Contra monster.
all the bosses in that game were insane. You remember the
Yeah.
ice cave, the Wampa boss that
The
is in the
Wampa
ice
that's
cave,
like the size
and
of
it's
a
like
building.
it's a
Yeah.
giant. It looks like it's from Streets of Rage. And
Kind of
it's
miss
just
those
about to,
why
like-
not movie tie-in games.
Yeah,
they're
that's
like, hey, I
right.
designed this 7-foot
Primal Rage.
Wampa monster, and they're like, why not?
Why
Just
not?
put
I
it in
do
the-
feel like modern movie tie-in games, like if you
They're
were
not
playing a
imaginative
3D game and it was
Yeah.
Star Wars, and when Luke gets into the Wampa cave, not only does he just like run slashing his way through the whole thing,
Yeah.
but when he got to the end, there's a Wampa the size of like a skyscraper in there.
Yeah.
Fans would like
That's
lose
what we
their mind, be
want.
mad.
do you-
but like
no, I actually
in
don't.
2D they wouldn't.
I actually don't think they would be mad because no one's been crazy enough to try that.
That's true.
I think people would
Yeah.
cheer that.
a lot of good ideas go away,
Like a
not
pair-
because,
like
just
an-
because
yeah.
people are afraid to do it, not because it's actually a bad
A
idea.
game that's not quite a parody because it is still kind of serious,
Yeah.
but that's just completely insane retelling of a movie's story.
They-
That's what I want. I want Dune,
I mean,
where like
they-
at the end you fight a worm that's possessed by the dead body of the Baron, and like
Right.
that's your knife
Right.
fight at the end.
I might be back with you, Ethan. I think that's a bad idea.
Why not?
All right, guys. So hopefully this is not a precedent.
It definitely is of
probably
what
is.
you're
It will
about
be,
to say
yeah. It's gonna
because
be an ill-
licenses expire.
It's gonna be an ill omen.
Yeah, hopefully it's not a precedent, but
Mm.
it's happened. The first one is gone ever.
Yeah,
Over the past few years, NSO has only been adding.
yeah.
They've never been removing anything.
So far, it's the only paid
So far, it's
service
the-
that hadn't removed.
it's the only but now we've gotten our first
Mhm.
delisting.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Nintendo of
In
Japan announced that Spike Chunsoft's game
That's racist.
Super Quentin really hates that name.
I
Super
can't believe
Soccer
he said that out
is
loud.
going to be delisted.
Yeah.
Now, what's weird is that Spike Chunsoft
That's racist.
has-
That is not, you
has
can't say
several
that.
games on NSO
Yeah.
that they've not said anything about. Super Soccer is going away. It's possible there's some sort of like
legal issue.
In a sports game, maybe like a brand that's in the game, like in an advertisement or something, is like demanding that they pay for it.
There could be all kinds of issues.
There could be all kinds of issues.
It could even be that they have to pay Spike Chunsoft every time for each of their games individually, pay royalties, and they're like, this one hasn't been played by anyone on any console in more than 5 years.
I presume before NSO did this, right? These Japanese gentlemen who wanted to play Super Soaker, what was it you said?
Super Soccer.
Super Soccer. I presume they had to go to some Super Soccer Soaker. They had to go to some seedy Japanese website where they could get the ROM file, and then they would play the ROM on an emulator.
Yeah. Correct.
And now they can rip the ROM directly off their NSO app on their modded Switch before they remove it.
True.
So Nintendo,
Hopefully,
great job. I really appreciate you helping out with this situation.
Here's the thing.
It's not.
I'm not surprised because, like you say, you have to pay royalties, and some of these games are pretty obscure. The litmus test is whether they ever remove Nintendo first-party games. The real problem with Game Pass or Sony's online stores or Steam is when they remove a first-party game, which then they're not paying royalties. Steam doesn't really do that.
The only
but
offender of that is Sony.
Yes,
Microsoft, like every game that's made by Xbox, is on Game Pass.
Correct.
Sony will not give you the newest Sony release. There's no day one PlayStation Plus games. And I don't know if they've ever removed a PlayStation game. I think they have. But they're really the only ones that have that precedent. This is a really tiny little drop in the bucket, but it's still a drop.
It's still a drop.
Well, and this
means there is a bucket.
This just illustrates, what wise men have been saying for a long time, which is that any of these services that do not give you ownership of your game, right, are making you a tenant in this proverbial home that your landlord is abusing you with. Okay, he's holding it over your head. He could kick you out any day. He could say, I really don't want to run a property anymore. You got to get out.
Nintendo,
and that's
fair
fair
warning to Quinn's point. If we're paying you for this stuff, but if you take it away from us, we're gonna steal it.
That's true.
Well, the thing is, that's the issue just with emulation in general, is just the fact that, like,
it shouldn't be
if you make it available, we'll pay you. If you delist it and, like, put a gate around it, like, people are just going to find a way to play their favorite game.
We've talked about this before, but Pirate Software has an interesting short on his channel where he talks about the game Heartbound that he released, that they noticed that the piracy was really big in this one country. What they found out was basically that, like, it was too expensive.
Right.
They lowered the price, and now it's one of their best-selling markets. And he's like, piracy is always economics.
Yeah.
And so, like, when companies start to delist stuff, availability is a part of price. And so when you make something unavailable, people will pirate it.
A manager of an emulation website that will be unnamed mentioned that when Capcom's Mega Man collection games come out, like the Mega Man Battle Network collection came out, downloads for the Mega Man Battle Network ROMs plummet
because they're available on modern consoles and Steam.
It's very convenient. Yeah,
people want to buy it.
People want to buy
it. Like, people want to buy your product.
You made it to where you could not only buy your product but could mod it the way ROMs can be modded. No one would ever download it again.
But again, even though that's better, it's still fragile ground because any company that can take away your ability to play a video game that you purchase digitally is a nightmare to me, which is why, again,
I'd much rather just own these things.
Encourage people buy on GOG where you can just take the game.
GOG's great.
You've got the files. You can play it.
Yeah, buy Super
or buy
Soccer
physical
on GOG.
No.
Try it.
But
try to.
Go use my abandonware, get everything, and go on GOG.
Internet Archive.
Buy the Dreamcast version of Command and Conquer.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't have to buy it.
You don't have to buy it.
Burn
it on to your Dreamcast.
Yeah.
I will say that, like,
laser etch it onto your hand.
Is that, to all you fans out there, video game fans, do your best to hang on to physical media.
Yeah.
Like,
we wouldn't know anything about that.
The Switch 2 is about to come out.
Yep.
Please just buy the physical copies of things.
Yeah.
Show Nintendo or any company that, like, I want to still be able to play this game.
There is another thing you can do with Switch 2 games.
Don't do that.
Well, I don't know if
can't
you can
endorse
do it with
that.
Switch 2 games.
We
can
don't
do it
know
with
yet.
Switch 1 games.
Let me explain something.
Eventually, you will.
You will.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Gotta say, the Wii U was harder to crack because the
Well, yeah,
Wii was
because
so
no one had
easy to
one.
crack.
No, there was no one
No
to
one
try.
had one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's
So hopefully,
terrible.
nothing else gets delisted.
Yeah,
so
keep,
far,
keep an eye on it.
Right.
So
but
far, it's
There's-
So far, it's a fairly obscure game.
fairly obscure. That's a good way of saying it. All right. Next, did
rolling along.
anybody watch the Pokemon Presents other than me?
Did you watch it?
I did not.
I'm sorry, there
I
was a
watched
Pokemon.
most of it.
I am aware that the new Pokemon game will be is going away from turn-based,
It is,
and everybody's losing their little minds. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course it is.
All right. So,
Power
no,
World came out.
I didn't watch it. You didn't actually watch it.
Not really.
You
I
didn't
watched,
watch it.
like,
You didn't watch
highlights.
it. So I'm going
I
to
sure
take
didn't.
this time to talk about this news that we're on here to mention that Pokemon,
Mm-hmm.
right? There was a game
Right.
called Pokemon Blue. Do you remember this?
Pokemon
Yes.
Blue to the polls.
So there was Pokemon Blue,
No,
and
not
I
that one.
had a jump drive
Yeah.
that someone gave me
Okay.
that had this game called Pokemon Blue, and I was a child,
yeah.
okay? And I played it, okay?
Right.
And I thought, wow, that's a pretty good game. Not too bad.
Sure.
And then years later, there was another Pokemon game.
Mhm.
Many years later, they didn't make any between these.
Wow.
Many years later, they said, wouldn't it be novel
On
if
your
we released
3DS.
a new Pokemon game? And it was on the Nintendo 3DS.
Right.
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 And it had a dragon, and he lived on an island or something. And then I played.
Sounds outlandish, but keep
I
going.
played
Yeah,
that
but keep
game,
going. I don't believe you.
and it was very good. I
Okay.
enjoyed that a lot.
Right.
And then they never made another Pokemon game.
Yeah.
Not
after
that I'm aware of.
Okay, and I can tell you that because I didn't play another Pokemon game.
Right.
Right.
Now you're telling me they've made another Pokemon game.
Not yet.
Not yet. They're making.
Pokemon Blue, Pokemon the game with the dragon on the island.
Mm-hmm.
Those were Pokemon.
Right.
Two games.
This one coming out.
This one coming out, you're saying
What is it called?
A to Z, I think. Pokemon.
It's a word.
Pokemon
Man.
Legends. A to Z.
okay.
Oh, God,
so,
yeah.
but you're
Another
Odyssey?
Legends game?
It is another
It is
Legends
another
game, which, to
Legends
be
game.
fair, the last Legends game was the only good
highlight.
thing Pokemon has done in a while.
But my point was,
Which we
in
should
my
tell.
opinion.
Power Up Brothers lore. We grew up as Nintendo boys, and we're still big Nintendo fans. We're still big Nintendo fans.
I'm
we,
the only one that played Pokemon as a child.
We didn't
so,
really grow up with Pokemon.
I was gonna say,
Not
so
really.
so you want to talk about Nintendo fans in the room? Literally the only one that played Pokemon as a child. So
Because
you know,
I think
but-
I think if you're on the outside, it seems like they're one and the same. Pokemon fans, Nintendo fans. There's a lot of overlap,
Yeah.
but there's very much people who grew
Like
up with
Pokemon
Nintendo.
fans, Nintendo fans who have taste.
Yeah, I think exactly.
Digimon
Yeah.
fans.
Here-
Take that.
here was my point bringing up these Pokemon games that
Okay,
are real.
go for it. Right.
Is that Blue and this other game that they
Yeah.
made, right?
Cool.
Are relatively the same in style
Sure.
and in gameplay, right?
Mhm.
Now you're telling me that they're trying to reinvent. They're doing things differently. It's not turn-based and such, right?
Yeah,
Am I
that part I
understanding that
must have
correctly?
missed.
As far as I know.
I must have missed that.
Well, like
Producer Devon, look it
yeah,
up.
producer Devon, look
So-
it up. I'm pretty sure it's not.
So what you're saying is
I'm
that
pretty sure
these
it's not
people,
turn-based
these
anymore.
people in their hubris who want to remake the pyramids,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Instead decided
Really easy to do.
build it tip to the bottom, 4
More
points
interesting.
floating to the sky,
More
and
interesting.
said, "This thing's gonna be able to stand up straight."
Yeah.
I kind of see it this way: is that like
Is that what you're saying?
I don't think that's what I was saying.
We can't rebuild the pyramids upright,
Mm-mm.
down
Yeah,
right.
we can. We did it in Vegas.
left, right. We can't do it anymore.
I think the thing is that
And now
like
they're not trying.
Pokemon has had the problem of like they just don't have the sauce anymore, right?
No.
You know,
They really don't.
They just don't have the sauce anymore. And like I've talked with people
It's
who are
the
Pokemon fans, and they
best-selling-
like
yeah,
they like the new
right.
games. They're like, yeah, they're okay, but like they don't have the sauce, right?
Yeah. Legends
And-
was close.
Legends is
was
close,
fun.
but you play like Pal World, and as janky and stupid as it is, it's also really fun.
Yeah.
It's like
Right.
stupid levels of fun.
I never played it, but I
And
heard
like
good things.
collecting the monsters in it is fun. and building your base is really fun. The things they can do is really fun.
Give me
And you just kind of shrug. You go like,
Yeah.
well, this is not Pokemon sauce, but this has got some secret sauce going on here. It's
Yeah.
got something.
Give me a
trying-
Splatoon gun and let me paint my Pokemon.
Well,
And why not just copy
would
Power
be-
World?
If you had like a Pokemon game where you're like on an island managing like you're like kind of managing the ecosystem of Pokemon and they all feel like real creatures running around, like that would
Right.
change up the dynamic and it would be at least something.
Sure.
But instead they're like they're stuck to the 2D format, but they just don't have
well,
Yeah,
yeah.
It's one of those things where it's the opposite of Zelda and Mario, where like they're able to take something, give you a new experience that feels familiar, and reinvent new experiences. They're just sort of like afraid to change anything, and then they make tiny alterations.
Yeah.
It's like
Which I
they-
think is why Legends felt so refreshing, because we had the biggest changes series seen in a long time.
I don't play Pokemon, so I don't comment. But you're right; it was received
Yeah.
much more positively. And what's weird is that Legends AZ or whatever it's being called, people are not really thrilled about.
Yeah.
It doesn't look very good. When I was watching the trailer, I was like, these graphics.
That's a Pokemon
Actually,
problem recently.
I
I mean,
think like
do you
art
remember?
style.
Do you
The
remember
art
the
style is
ugly
Ocarina of
games.
Time trees on that Nintendo Switch
Yeah.
Pokemon?
It's
game?
just ugly.
It's
And that's
just-
the
they're very
we
ugly.
talked
That's
about
the word.
graphics one day when we were talking about like if you look at the poly count and the texture quality in Elden Ring, it's not good. But
no.
if you look at a screenshot of Elden Ring, it looks like a painting.
Like
Yeah.
an
And it's
art
because
style,
just
yeah.
like it's a good looking game because they put effort into the visuals.
Art direction is much more important.
And Pokemon
Yeah.
could like make a cute looking tree. Harvest Moon does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's just low effort. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Well,
they don't have
just
to-
churning these things
and
out.
I think the biggest problem is, as Quentin would often say, when we were in the morgue, the fans are the problem.
The fans are the problem.
And the problem
always.
is that
Fair.
all Pokemon fans,
Right.
they're just grubby little piglets. And they just go over to the
We've
slot
we've
pen.
absolutely
They-
killed this
They go over
podcast
to
by
the slot
insulting
pen.
every
They-
Every
Pokemon
single-
no,
fan.
but it's true.
Really?
They
No,
go
no.
over the slot pin. No, you're
Yeah,
no,
because
The slot.
they
no,
root-
you're
or, like,
completely right. They go over to
it's
their
kind
trough.
of the thing
The
you
Power
said. It's like if
Brothers
you
do
don't
not endorse
hold,
any of these.
If you,
No.
Any of the things we, the Power Brothers,
The Power Brothers
No, I'm
say.
sorry. I have to completely
I'd
support.
like to remind everybody our
They-
points don't matter.
These people
Yeah,
go to the
anyway.
slop
Yeah.
trough,
Yeah.
and these people are just like some tired guards at Alcatraz thinking a paper mache head is Clint Eastwood because
Yeah.
they look over at Pokemon and they're like, it looks like a corpse in shadowed darkness, right? Unmoving and clammy, and they're like, yeah, that's it. That's a real thing, but
Yeah.
it's not. You look
but
at
if
it
a
and it doesn't look like Pokemon.
This is the problem: is that if a
Looks like a
Pokemon game,
corpse.
like they will come out with these low effort bad games,
Yeah.
and they'll still sell like 7 million copies, 8
Oh
million
yeah, they're like
copies.
some of the best
They'll
selling
be
There's
games.
no
They'll be
reason for
fine.
them to try. There's no reason for
No.
them. Like a single penny they spend over what they already have been spending is pointless because
Right.
it's going to sell well either way.
Yeah.
And so it's like it is a little discouraging when it's like, you know, they don't have a reason to be any better, so they just aren't going to.
Right.
I
They
think
could.
Yeah.
I
They
think
don't have.
that we-
They have no competition, and their games are always going to.
Some people have also made the argument that Pokemon games have always been buggy and not very good, and that's just
I don't think that's
Like-
true.
like.
Yeah.
I mean, I just mean that some people have broken down the fact that like the original was a broken mess that Iwata had to come in and put back together.
So he put it back together, and they
Sure.
released a game that wasn't a broken mess.
Also,
well, it's pretty glitchy. The original game has a lot of bugs in it.
And wasn't Iwata? Didn't Iwata work on
everything.
the
worked
second
on it all.
generation, not the original?
No, he worked on the original.
Oh.
Yeah.
Here-
Also, to capstone it off,
Yes, please do.
pigs are as smart as dogs and delightful creatures.
You're trying to roll
Yeah,
back.
you're
your
rolling it
pig
back.
No,
thing.
no,
Yeah.
the piglets are
They
super
just-
smart and
Mm-hmm.
loving creatures that deserve humane treatment,
Right.
and they deserve better than to eat slop their whole lives.
Bacon's delicious.
What I'm going
Do
to say
better,
is
Pokemon
we
fans.
need to keep some kind of a list of every fan
Yeah.
group that we've alienated on this
yeah,
podcast.
it's gotta be
Sonic's on there.
Our
Pokemon's
views,
on
guys,
there.
our views. We know the views aren't that great anymore. All right, we're getting like 120 an episode, so we
Oh,
don't
that's
care.
good.
We
That's
don't
great.
care.
Ty doesn't care, I guess. The rest
I
of
don't
the
care.
Thank you for being here, Pokemon fans.
Yes.
We see you.
I
we love
want
I've been
you.
hitting
good
the
things
sauce.
for you. I wanted to
Yeah.
poke. Like,
I
here's the
want
thing.
you deserve better, Pokemon fans.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
You deserve
They
better.
legit
Listen,
do.
I
They
mean,
deserve
legit
better.
we want everyone except Stardew Valley fans, and this is a
Right.
podcast of 4 white men.
Yeah.
They're not
Fair.
here
They're not
anyways.
here.
No,
Okay.
nothing brought them here.
No, they're gone.
Let us. If you're a Pokemon fan, let us know what you thought of the Pokemon
Yeah,
Presents.
let us
'cause
know
that's
how
all
much
that
you
actually
hate
matters.
us.
That's all that
And
actually matters.
Let us know if you think you deserve better.
Yeah, let us know that if
We
you think
do.
you don't deserve better. Let us know
Yeah.
if you like that Pokemon treats you like a bad little boy. Let's know
What
if you.
are you
Let's know if
talking
you're.
about?
Let's know if you want
First of
Pokemon
all-
to.
first
spank
of all-
Podcast is
First of all,
Rachel leaves.
Rachel leaves.
And everything
This
goes to poop.
podcast.
first of all, disgusting. Second of all, literary foul. You mixed metaphors.
You did.
You're
yeah.
out.
Terrible.
You're out.
Really
All
sloppy.
right, guys. For the love of God, we're moving on
Okay.
To
to
the final one.
that which is above your heads. I'm a special boy. I got the
Mario?
steel book. Ty's doing the thing.
Mario.
No, Monster Hunter
Boo.
Wilds.
Oh.
If you're watching this, it came out about a week ago.
There is
Yep.
Yeah.
there is
And-
literally a
yeah.
Boo over his head and Mario over his. Look at how they're seated.
Mm-hmm.
Get on
I like
board
that
with
Monster
the
Zone.
topic, please. No, yeah,
I've been
Monster
very
Hunter
unplugged.
Wilds.
I
Monster
basically
Hunter
played the
Wilds.
demo, and then
Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
watched any trailers. I didn't play the second demo.
Yeah,
I'm very excited to play. I haven't got a chance to play
I haven't
Monster Hunter
either,
Wilds.
just yet, yeah.
But if you maybe in a week when this airs, this will
Could've
not be
gotten
true.
some
But as of
kinks
right
ironed
now,
out, yeah.
It's
It's a-
slop.
it's about 40% on Steam as far as positive reviews
Yeah.
because it is extremely poorly optimized, and you basically have to have a $5,000 PC to play it well.
Yeah.
As
is what they're
someone
saying.
who owns a $7,000 PC,
Uh-huh.
I'm
you could
going
play
to
it
say
at 120.
I
for
could
sure.
probably play this game with no problem.
The rest of us
Sure.
could not.
What I'm going to say is I don't want to.
I know you
Because
Okay.
I stand in solidarity for all the people who do not have good computers.
Yeah.
As a
I do that
person
with
who
a
has a
lot of
hand
computer
crank on the
games.
side of his computer, I
Your-
appreciate
your
your
computer's
solidarity.
not bad.
Because my thing is that you shouldn't have to have. This has been my motto this whole time. You should
Yeah.
not have to have the highest end computer
No.
No.
to run the modern releases of games.
No.
So when I read people who on pretty good hardware, they're posting their specs on pretty good
Yeah.
hardware saying that the performance is so bad,
Yeah.
right, that it is effectively unplayable.
Yeah.
And then to look at the requirements on the game.
Yeah.
And for Capcom themselves to say that you need frame gen enabled for the game to run.
Right.
Are you joking? What world
pretty
are
crazy.
we living in where
It's
where
pretty
you
crazy.
It's
have
not
to
great.
PC. We were talking about this a few episodes ago. That
Yeah.
I'm like, I think a big part of bringing something to PC is making it scalable.
Yeah.
Because that's the appeal of PC.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, if you bring something to the Switch and you didn't optimize it at all and it runs terrible, you did a bad job.
Yeah.
But a lot of times someone will release something on PC that requires like a super PC to even like install it.
Mhm.
And people are like, no, good PC port. I disagree.
It's
I think
not
it's
really.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it
and this
should
is
be it
not-
should be scalable. Now, admittedly, like I don't think there's a lot of controversy right now around games that don't run well or at all on like a GTX 16
It's kind of ridiculous.
50. 1650 is a pretty old card.
Yeah.
You know, that's like
Sure.
that's like I think 10 years old almost. So like I think they should make things compatible if
At
it's
least let it
possible.
scale. Yeah.
But I'm not surprised that your
No.
10-year-old card can't play the
I think it
newest
was a
game.
little.
No.
I think Wilds was a
But-
little ambitious. Like
Wilds is definitely bitten off maybe a little more. I think it just needed more time in the oven. I think that's that's how most games are. They don't feel the need to debug games anymore because here's the secret. If you debugging a game requires a group of people to sit down and play the game, and you collect metrics as they do. They report bugs, but more important than that, you have software running in the background to collect metrics on how the game is working, and you get tons of this data over a long course of time.
Sure.
And then you use that to optimize your game. Or you could release it, you're monitoring all the data of all the people who buy your game. You get millions of feedbacks from that monitoring data, and then you can use that to optimize it, and you saved yourself a lot of money. And that's what game developers
Well,
do.
and this is
Sad
also
that is actually
yeah,
true, yeah.
This is also hurtful because again, they said that the beta testing was on an earlier build and that the new
That's
build
always the cope,
is
but to
not-
hear Capcom say it, it's
Capcom
like,
says,
oh,
yeah, they say,
they're
oh,
coping just as hard as
they
we
say,
are.
yeah, this runs like garbage, but don't worry, it's an earlier build. When the full game comes out, it's not going to run this way. Well, that was just a lie.
Yeah,
It does
that does
run-
not seem to be
It
true.
does run better than the beta, but only because between the beta's release and now NVIDIA released DLSS 4, and
Oh, that's a good
DLSS 4
point, yeah.
does make it run better.
But
Okay,
but
that's
but
a good.
the
people have
only
already
way in which-
people have already pointed out that like the things they were talking about with like weapon balancing and stuff,
Mhm.
that was the final build. Like that is not any different in the full version.
Really?
And
Really?
Capcom
I
had
had no
said
idea.
that it was.
Interesting.
I've heard what I've heard right now is that the like testers have said like no, it's the same. Like
Yeah.
none of the stuff has changed.
I'm very curious how the game's going to run on console, just because when I said they stretched themselves too thin, Monster Hunter World was originally just on PS4, Xbox One.
yeah,
It was limited to that. There was no crossplay.
right.
And then it took like, I think, almost a year to come to PC.
I think it was exactly.
I think
a
it
year.
was-
Well, I
it
will
was
say,
exactly a year.
running it is stable on PlayStation, but running at 720, which is
Yeah.
Future Devon,
Not good.
tell me how Monster Hunter's running on your
I'll bet
PS5.
you could get your the game to run stably on your PC if you turn the resolution down to 720p.
Maybe.
I'll bet
oh
you can
yeah,
get it up to
yeah,
60.
that's true. That's
So
true.
performance is probably comparable.
My whole thing is that if I want to play a Monster Hunter in 720p, I will get the hit game Monster Hunter Rise and play it on my handheld Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, Rise was developed by a different team, but
Yeah.
also they were focused on one console at first, and it was
Uh-huh.
really tight.
And
Well-
it wasn't an open world game. Open world games have a lot of variables and we are. Here's the other thing, and I don't like doing this. We're commenting on things we've heard and seen from the
Yeah,
internet.
none of us
We have
have
We
played
not
it.
literally
tested
we
it.
could have delayed this podcast, sat down and played the game, but we didn't because we want you to get the news now, 1 week
Almost a full
Right.
week,
after we
yeah.
Mhm.
film this.
No, the thing I'll say is like, I've been just I didn't want to watch a whole lot of reviews. I don't like to
Yeah.
watch reviews for a game I'm already excited
I-
about.
sure,
I don't
same.
get the point. But
I
in
do like
general,
to know the technical hiccups and stuff I might run into.
that's fine. But the thing that I'll say is that like everybody's really enjoying the core of the game from what I've seen. People
really
people that
seem
I
to
know.
like.
Keep an eye on our
the
channel
gameplay.
for shorts filmed with handheld cameras pointed at our face where we're talking about Monster Hunter. 'Cause
Yeah.
that'll probably be on the
It'll
channel
probably
this
happen.
week.
Mhm.
Because we'll have a lot of thoughts. But
Probably gonna happen.
put about
and
this
I'm
Monster
legit gonna cut to future me and say how the game's running on PS5, just because
Well,
I think
and
people
I-
are gonna be interested.
And I mean, yeah, we don't know how because we do have varying levels of computer builds
Yeah.
in this room, and
Sure.
so
Mine
when
is
we,
actually better than
we-
it
we
has
would-
been last
Sure.
few years.
Yeah.
We would
His
get-
yours is better than mine.
we would get various metrics as far as how
I discovered
it all
that
runs.
my
But
video card that I have is the most common one on Steam now.
Really?
did you check to see if it's Steam Deck verified?
I did not.
Okay,
No.
put up whether it's Steam Deck verified.
Here it is.
Because
I feel like it can't be, right?
I would guess that it can't
Sometimes
be.
Valve will verify before it, like on launch, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
doubt that it is.
Well, I think this is. I understand that a lot of people are disappointed.
Sure.
I, on the other hand, feel justified, and I'll say
course you
why.
do.
Of course you do.
Because Monster Hunter World's DEI, woke slop DEI, Monster Hunter
Okay.
World's Japanese DEI, woke Shinzo Abe, Hideo Kojima.
Thanks for all the buzzwords.
Right?
Yeah, thanks.
You know all the
The
things.
algorithm
already
has
cut them
delisted
out.
us.
What
Yeah,
I am
right.
saying is, who made Monster Hunter
The
Wilds?
Japanese.
Capcom?
The exact same team that made Monster Hunter World.
True.
Sure.
And
Oh, I see
so
what you're getting
if
at.
you go, if someone hands you the slop at Alcatraz every single day for food, right? They hand you slop,
Right.
and then they say, "We've got a surprise for you. It's called slop," and you go, "I'm so shocked. They gave us slop." But there was one guy, do you recall,
Mm-hmm.
who, when everyone else was saying, Monster Hunter's got such a great track record, it'll be fine. I believe this was on a podcast a couple weeks ago. He said, everything will be fine. And
I
then
did say that.
you literally
Have some hope.
You literally said, Monster Hunter's got a good track record, have some hope. And I said,
I still
it's
think that.
going to be garbage when it comes out. And we'll
I
see.
talked to.
And-
I think it's actually good.
I talked
And
to.
look what happened.
I talked to
Probably good.
Lonnie
Fine.
today.
Oh,
And,
Lonnie, friend of the podcast.
Yeah, friend
Lonnie,
of
friend
the
of the
podcast.
podcast.
Lonnie.
Hi, Lonnie.
And
Come on the
she
podcast,
described
Lonnie.
Quentin as a certified hater. She was
I am a
she was like, it was so
Oh,
fun
him?
being on the podcast
Yeah.
because she was like,
Yeah.
Quentin is so different on the podcast because on the podcast he is a certified hater.
Good description.
I am a
Lonnie.
certified
Very
hater.
good.
I
Yeah, certified.
I'm
You
a
have your
card-carrying-
credentials.
I am a card-carrying member of the hater party.
Yeah.
But this is
Guys,
the thing.
I'm excited for Monster Hunter.
I'm
Wild.
I
excited
was
for
just about
Monster
to
Hunter
say,
Wilds.
on a
excited.
nicer
Good.
note,
Yeah.
maybe they'll update it and it'll still be not
Get
as
those
good as old Monster Hunter,
optimizations,
but
yeah.
it will be maybe
They saw how
a good game.
successful Cyberpunk was, and they're
Right.
just imitating
And they
that
just
model.
Let's close it
yeah.
out. Future Devon, tell us how wrong Quentin is.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Future Devon. Because I'm in the future, I can tell you, Monster Hunter Wilds on PS5, it's running pretty good. Getting 60 frames. Runs nice and smooth, no chugging. Plus, the game's really fun. I mean, like, stupid fun. So, what a shock. Quentin was wrong.
Is the
Let's
game
know.
running well? Let's hear about it.
All right, guys,
I
that
wonder.
was the news.
That was the news.
About
We don't have
how-
any other
about
segments
how-
in this podcast.
No, that's
so
it.
we
That's
can- we
it.
can
Time to
only-
wrap it up. Go,
Wrap
guys.
All right, Rachel, tell us what's
Goodbye.
next.
Yeah,
Rachel.
Rachel, take us
Take us
back.
home.
No,
Aw.
I think we're going to the classic, the Power Up Classic.
Oh, do you mean games we haven't played?
Not
but
yet.
have strong... No, not
Not
that.
Not yet.
Not
There's
yet.
something in between there. A little something.
here.
Do you want to be a superstar?
That's
it.
close.
Do you want to be a superstar?
No,
No,
Ty doesn't
no.
have that kind of power.
No, not that one.
Aw.
No.
Man, I can't think of what you were gonna.
I can't.
pick.
Is it topic of the week?
Oh my god.
All right, guys, welcome to topic of the week.
Topic
Normally, the lovely Rachel pulls from the topic bag.
We've learned
but-
tonight that we don't even need Rachel.
We don't even need her. The
We
podcast is
don't.
literally
Independent
it's going
boys.
so well.
Right.
Independent
Oh.
We've done nothing but talk over each other.
It's
all
gone-
the
I
derail.
was gonna say, it's gone terrible.
If she
All
misses
living.
next week,
I'm not
I was gonna
coming.
say-
if she misses next
We
week,
won't make
the
it.
week after that,
Yeah.
we're back in the morgue.
I was about to
we
say,
will be.
sure.
We'll regret.
We will have Kmart
regret.
Mill
This
guy
has
like
been the worst podcast we've
It
recorded.
is. It's going to be our
in
highest
months.
views. Wait for
Rachel,
it.
please come back.
Please,
Yes.
Please come back.
Please don't be sick. All right, Quentin, pull something
Now,
from the topic bag.
I have here
Do it, coward.
the topic bag.
Yes.
Which is full of topics written by you, the fans, and I'm going to read one. You, the fans, not
Yeah.
them, the fans.
Not them.
And
no.
I will reach my
Maybe in the future.
sensuous claw
Okay.
into the bag to get a topic.
That was the wrong claw.
My sensuous
There, good
claw
job.
That's the sensuous one.
into the bag.
Right.
All right, and I'm gonna go
Make sure you
Right,
just get one.
here.
Get the stickiest
There's
one.
one.
All right, he's got it.
And the topic.
Who's it from first?
It's from me.
Oh, what a surprise.
we're in the darkest timeline.
Yeah.
And guess what, boys? It's a good one.
Mm.
I wrote it specifically for you guys.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
thank you.
What a coincidence.
We're going to spend 10 minutes on it.
Favorite games on your least favorite generation. What is your favorite games on your least
Fascinating.
favorite generation?
I love all generations.
I should have told you this question in advance so you could have gotten answers
Yeah.
in line, but that's not how we do these anymore. It's a secret now.
I think I'm of the opinion that, like, well, I'm curious what you guys think. Can you say that, like, you didn't like a generation if you just didn't, like, have anything to do with it? Like, the first generation,
Yeah.
if it tells you anything, this should tell you something.
Okay.
The NES is the third generation of consoles.
Oh, sure.
And
Yeah.
we barely interacted with it. So I
Well,
can't really pick,
speak
like,
for
an
yourself.
Atari game.
Not really fair.
Because that's not really fair. That's not my least
sure.
favorite generation. That's a generation I had nothing to do with.
But
Yeah.
in retrospect, you have played NES games
Yeah.
and Atari
The
games.
NES would be the first generation
So-
that I can say I did interact with enough
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
like.
So you can
I'm in
say
there.
gens 1 and 2, you simply have
I
to
was- I'm
cross
too
out
young.
Gonna
because
abstain.
you didn't. You're gonna abstain
I
from the
wasn't
choosing.
even 3. I was
You can
barely,
cherry pick those generations too easily in hindsight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to
Right,
play the
yeah,
bad
right,
games.
yeah.
You already
Just
know they're
ET.
bad.
ET's my favorite game on my least favorite generation. It's
That
just
would be an
stupid.
interesting
Sure,
one.
right. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, so
I
I'll give that stipulation.
cross those out. We'll state our starting generations.
Sure. Yeah.
Which I think is probably going to be the same for all of us.
So let's
Yeah.
let's go through that. What's your Quentin? Since you came up with the topic, what's your least favorite generation?
Let's see. Gen 8.
Gen 8, so Xbox One, PlayStation 4, Wii U.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say Gen 8 is my least favorite.
Okay.
Just probably the least memorable generation.
There's not much to it
that has ever been
fair.
made.
Yeah.
I think Nintendo crapped the bed, obviously, so horribly that they. I
Their
mean,
marketing team super.
I mean,
did,
wasn't
yeah.
the 3DS in Gen 8 though?
It was. Yeah.
You're right.
I actually
and
think,
that is
I actually
great.
like Gen 8
but
quite a bit because the PS4 I think did pretty well,
Sure.
and then
This isn't. This is his
sorry,
least favorite.
please.
my Gen 8. I mean, here's the thing. It's difficult for me because I think Gen 8 and Gen 9 have been underwhelming for me.
Gotcha.
Is the problem. The one thing I'll say Gen 8 does have is the 3DS. When I judge a console generation, I do judge it in totals here. So this is difficult.
One good console can't save a whole generation.
Because when we think about like Gen 6,
right,
Gen 6, literally everyone produced quality.
Yeah.
Every single
if it tells you
person
my
produced
favorite
quality in Gen
console,
6.
my favorite console is the N64 from Gen 5, but my favorite generation is 6 because I think 6 in its totality is better than 5 in its
better.
totality.
Yeah, probably.
So one console can't really redeem a whole generation for me.
So this is my thing. It's a toss-up between Gen 8 and Gen 9.
Yeah.
You are right. Gen 9 might be worse just on account of the fact that it has nothing that I like, right?
Outside of Nintendo, Gen 9 has been bizarrely quiet.
So,
like, I feel like I could hold every PS5 game in the palm of my hand.
Exclusives, yes, but there have still been tons of great games. They've just crossed consoles or been available on PC as well.
This is what I was going to say about Gen 9.
Indie games
that is,
popped off.
I would say the most difficult thing is that Gen 9, although the consoles have been underwhelming for me, there have been plenty of games that have come out on PC released.
But PC isn't PC kind of the Great River. It's not really like it doesn't have generations.
But even these games aren't always PC exclusive. They often come out on consoles as well, right? Like we talk a lot about the indie game Enshrouded. It is a PC exclusive right now, but it will be on consoles before the end of Gen 9. So it would be a Gen 9 console game eventually.
Yeah.
So Quentin, lock it in. Is it 8 or 9?
I think I'm going to... I think I'm going to say 8 just so that I can focus in on when I was most playing video games, right? I was playing a lot of video games during Gen 8, right? And most of them were on the 3DS, and I thought that was great.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't have a Sony console in my life that I played much at all. With Xbox, I didn't have an Xbox at all during Gen 8 that I played. So I didn't have a Nintendo home console. I barely had a Sony home console.
Yeah.
And I didn't have an Xbox. With Gen 9, the reason I don't think I'm going to go with it is that by the time Gen 9 has been in place, I haven't been...
It's not done yet.
Yeah, and also I haven't been a video game guy during this generation, right?
Sure.
The 3DS kept me a video game guy during the previous generation.
Sure.
If we're excluding the 3DS, it's almost a dry well for me.
Yeah, Gen 8.
And so picking those little... or Gen 8, picking those little gems from these, I think is more productive than trying to go with Gen 9.
So your least favorite's 8. We'll come back to your game. So I'll say that, like, immediately I think of 3 as my least favorite because the NES is very just sort of alone. I could not tell you what a Master System game is.
Master System would have been Gen 2.
No, it would have been the 80s with the NES and everything.
The Genesis came out 1 year after the NES.
Genesis came out in 89.
No.
Yeah, that was 4 years. Yeah.
Well, only we had a producer.
Yeah. I'll put it up here just to confirm.
Put it up right there, but I think Devon is right.
Yeah. Genesis was 89. Super Nintendo was 92. There is a gap between Super Nintendo and Genesis.
Yeah.
But no, all I mean is that just like I've played some Master System games, but they were very underwhelming.
Yeah.
It was Sega's 8-bit
Honestly,
console.
as much as I like the NES, like it's fun to go back and
Sure.
like look at it. The games on it don't always play great.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
even the good
and I'm
games,
gonna
like
say-
Mario, extremely tight. A lot of
Yeah.
other games are like a little underwhelming. Like the original Legend of Zelda is not like set up well for
Sure.
like an adventure game. Like you can't really like talk to NPCs. They like just type things across the ground.
Right.
Like sometimes it's like we'll
Ties.
burn a tree,
Yeah.
but there's no way to tell what tree
Yeah.
it is.
Sure.
It's like
They feel
the
stiff.
philosophy isn't quite
Yeah.
there yet.
Right.
The original Metroid, one of my favorite games of all
Great.
time.
Yeah, is on this
is,
console.
True.
So.
No,
Kid
no,
Icarus is
I'm
great
sorry.
in the original.
I should say Metroid is one of my favorite games of all time, but the one on the NES is not great.
Yeah.
No.
The original Metroid actually
hard
isn't
now.
that great.
I will say the
Kid
problem
Icarus
is
is-
I do
yeah,
think
Kid
the
Icarus
original
is fun.
Metroid is a good game.
It's a good game.
I think so.
For the day
in
and age,
comparison to
Yeah.
its
It's
the
a
rest
good
of its
game,
library.
for
I
sure.
think that the original Zelda holds up very well.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
The original Mario Brothers
several others.
is like
I
classic.
like the
Mario
original
Brothers 3.
the
is
original
insane.
Kid Icarus
Yeah.
is fun.
I actually think the original Kid Icarus is like an unappreciated
really good.
gem
Yeah.
because like it has the like it has the gameplay and components of Metroid, but
Yeah.
just has philosophy that's a little higher.
My thing
Yeah.
is
Like,
that
it's better
I
put
did
It's
together.
level based, so you can kind of like
Yeah.
it's a little more digestible.
I didn't
Blaster
cons-
Master,
Mhm.
great
Blaster
game.
Master.
Great NES
I
game.
didn't
Star
consider-
Tropics is a great game.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeast
considering
1
Gen
and 2.
3.
Yeast 1 and 2.
I wasn't
So
considering
good.
Gen 3 back because
Right.
that was on my scratch
That was
off
before
list.
your time.
I would
Yeah,
scratch that
I-
off,
but
I-
it wasn't necessarily before like my time.
Yeah.
Like,
Fun
I
fact,
interacted
everybody.
a lot.
Quentin's considerably younger than the three of them.
I am.
Yeah.
My
He's
thing
from-
is that
He's from a different marriage. I tell people.
I would
Yes.
still scratch off
not.
NES.
both parents were different, so different.
You wouldn't
marriage.
go back to it.
It's a
would-
coincidence that we have the last name same.
I would scratch off NES, and the reason that I would scratch off that generation is that like one of my earliest memories about actually playing a video game that was in my home, that was our console,
Mhm.
was a Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's
We
what
had
I was about to say.
relatives
yeah.
who had
Because I was gonna
NES
say,
and Atari and
yeah.
stuff, but
Yeah.
My
I
joke-
remember getting a Super
Yeah.
Nintendo, the Super Mario World edition that came with it. I remember like saving up the like cereal box lids so we
Yeah.
could order Mario
Yeah.
All Stars.
Yeah.
When I was following games coming out, renting them from Blockbuster,
Yeah.
it was SNES.
That's true,
It wasn't NES. I can go
So
back and cherry pick
That's
the
what
NES.
that's what I would say is just the fact that like my immediately I think the NES, but I couldn't tell you a Master System game. I couldn't tell you an
Yeah.
Atari 7800 game. So I have to be honest with myself and say that I experienced the NES as like retroware. Like
Yeah.
we went to
Right.
Aunt B's house and like
She
played.
had it,
That was the only
yeah.
time I really remember playing a physical NES. So I can't really say that, which means I have to go with 7. Like to Quentin's point, I love
Yeah.
the Wii. The Wii is like one of my favorite consoles.
Yeah.
The Wii had like Mario Galaxy and like Skyward Sword, which is constantly warring to be my favorite Zelda game. And I loved the Wii. But like I can't really describe how disinterested I am in the 360 and the PS3.
Yeah.
I thought I just missed them. I've now gone back and like played some games from that era, and it just doesn't interest me. A lot of 360 games look gross. Like it was HD
There was
before
some-
anyone was ready for HD,
Yeah.
and bloom lighting is like nauseating in some of them.
Yeah.
And so I think that if you didn't grow up playing them, like those games have all sort of aged like fruit.
Yeah, because it is funny to me because when I think of Gen 7 and I think of
Yeah.
the visuals, I'm like, oh man, I just feel so at home here. You know what I
Right.
mean? But at the same time, again, kind of maybe getting into the age difference where I
Sure.
think familiarity with like how the N64 looked, right?
Sure,
Or the
yeah.
NES looked.
And I'm sure some people
That-
feel the same way about N64, that it like it's little polygonal.
It doesn't look very comfortable if you're
Sure.
so
Yeah.
used to
I-
you're from the NES
Right.
generation.
I also remember that generation being weird because the Wii would get versions of games that were on
Mhm.
other consoles.
Yeah.
That was a unique time.
And so, like, I remember very, very clearly playing The Force Unleashed, Star
Yeah.
Wars The Force
Star Wars
Unleashed.
Yeah.
And in the Wii version, they had his lightsaber facing forward, and their argument was like, well, yeah, because you're holding the Wii remote, and it's not tracking it at all. And I was
Not
always
really.
like, bro, it's an attack button. You can literally map it to a button.
I mean, it's a little
But
more than something like Twilight Princess
yeah.
because
Yeah.
this does do horizontal and this does
Yeah.
vertical.
It-
Yeah.
Sure. It's fine. Then they did have a character in the multiplayer who had it backwards, and it was fine.
And it was
but
fine. Yeah.
Yeah,
the
Maris,
game was
yeah.
fun and kind of like silly in like the scale. Like when you force pushed, it's like your character's this big and like the
Blows
push is
up
like
the whole-
several
yeah,
times
yeah.
larger and goes
Yeah,
flying,
yeah.
right?
Sure.
Once you
And then
upgrade it,
in
yeah.
the Xbox version, your force push is like a gun. It like just fires like little like
It's
shots.
small, yeah.
And the game
Okay.
is like more complicated. You have like combos to do with attacks instead of just kind of like feeling your way through combat.
I don't think it was as
and it wound
good.
up being not fun. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
No,
it's
I
not.
gotta. Having played both of those
Yeah.
quite a bit, both versions,
I have. That's the
I-
one that I've
I
played.
have
yeah.
to say, I enjoy both quite a bit for their uniquenesses.
Sure.
Mhm.
But they're just such different.
They're
games.
so
They're
different.
They're
different,
such
yeah.
different. But that happened a lot on the Wii, where it was just like, if you were a kid
Potatoes
whose
and
parents
tomatoes.
were poor and they were like, we can't afford
Mhm.
that their Xbox and it's
Sure.
lead pieces, right? It's too heavy for our working
Lead
man's
piece.
backs, right?
We live in the European Union. We can't get our hands on
We
them.
Yeah,
can't get our
exactly.
hands on it. If you're in that case,
Yeah.
it was a weird generation where you got like
Yeah.
the busted up Wii version of,
Sure.
of every game where they
Yeah.
just made a brand new game from some other studio.
Yeah.
It's a weird generation.
Yeah, so that's what I would probably pick. Like,
Yeah.
I love the Wii, I love the DS, but like, it can't really. I had really bad experiences with like the PSP. I did not have good experiences with the PSP. There were games that I loved on the PSP, but like the PSP itself was all. I felt like I was always fighting it. Like the PSP made me have to get into Monster Hunter on try because I
Yeah.
couldn't do the fish claw.
Weakling.
Yeah.
Weakling.
Weakling.
Was the question though? Is what's your favorite game in that?
Well, we're
bag?
tring to get our.
We're getting our
okay,
generation
so that you have
first.
time to think of it. So,
Right.
Ty, what's your least favorite generation?
Okay, so I was gonna go back, and
You're old enough.
I think 3
old man.
would
man
would
alert.
have been because I was never that into the Sega Genesis. Had some great games. I agree with a lot of your guys' points about the NES.
Sega
um,
Genesis is 4.
was
but
4.
keep going.
Oh yeah.
We talked
getting
about
a
it.
full-
Did he
I agree
literally
with
just
a lot
forget?
of your.
I think he was
guys'
trying to
points.
rewrite
but
history.
to keep it all even for everybody, I'll scratch that out.
Is
and
it 3 or 4?
And I've got to go with it was 3 I was talking
you
about.
are going with 3.
Well, I would have, but I'm scratching it out because you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
do, and I think
Okay.
it's more interesting.
Solidarity with your younger
solidarity
brothers.
with my younger baby brothers. And so it's very close between like 7 and 8 for me because I think you guys hit the nail on the head. It's like we're related or something.
Might have been.
I think that I loved the Wii, but I really did not have that much fun with the Xbox 360. I had a little bit more fun with the PS3. I like the DS a lot.
Yeah.
I was more a fan of the PSP. Games like Crisis Core and Dissidia, Square Enix really kind of saved the PSP for me
I
a
love
little
Square
bit.
Enix games. on
The
PSP.
fact that you could get your old PlayStation 1 games and play it on there, I really liked. I think the reason, for Generation 8, 3DS, which is one of my favorite consoles of all time, and then I actually think the PS4 has some really good titles
There's a
on
lot
it.
of PS4 games I really like. Yeah.
But I do think it's probably my least favorite generation
8.
is 8.
Yeah.
Just because, and I can't even, it's not, for me, it's not about retrospect. If I look in retrospect, it might actually be 7. But I remember very vividly what I was doing at the time, and I just remember having a lot more fun during Gen 7 for whatever reason. I think it
Sure.
was because I had so many Wii games and so many DS games that it didn't matter that the PS3 and Xbox 360 I didn't have that much stuff for. And obviously I had a slightly better experience with the PSP than a lot of people.
Sure.
It almost didn't matter. Then you get to Gen 8, and I have the 3DS, which is incredible. I am enjoying the PS4, but I don't have that many games for it. And then I didn't connect with anything Xbox was doing. I didn't even get a Vita because I was kind of
True.
underwhelmed.
No, I never had a
I
Vita.
always forget
I
about
actually, I will say I do regret not having owned a Vita because I think I would have gotten more fun out of the Vita than I did any of the home consoles for Gen 8.
Mhm.
And like there was so little on the home console front that engaged me. Some of that's probably about like me where I was.
Sure.
Gen 8 kind of came along at
That's
that
a huge
time
part
when
of
you
any console
transition from being a
generation, yeah.
kid to an adult. And so I have more fond memories of 7
Yeah.
Yeah.
as a result.
I
but
will
also
say, just as a PSA, like being objective about art, or your experiences with art is overrated. Like,
it's
be objective about
factually
how
impossible.
you treat other people, or like
Well,
your like sense of duty,
yeah,
but not like things you enjoy. Being like, well, I only like this because I was a kid. Okay, but that was an
Yeah. That's
experience
fair.
you had
It's
in
a
life.
subjective
Fair.
experience.
It appealed to
Yeah,
kids.
right.
Yeah.
So
So
also
8.
it's going to be very easy for me to pick my favorite game, which is another point in Nate's favor.
Yeah, I do have a question about that for Quentin. Go, Ethan.
So mine is a little difficult. I think I mostly agree with Quinn. Like I mostly feel the same way he does.
Yeah.
Is that 8 was really bad, and it mostly boiled down to like Nintendo just absolutely dropped the ball.
And Xbox both.
And
they just like
the others
they went
always
careening out of the
the
market.
others are always dropping the ball. And then they
True.
pick it back
Fair.
up, and then they drop it again, and they pick it back up, and they drop it again.
Yeah.
Nintendo dropped the ball so hard on the Wii U.
Yeah.
Like it is the hardest ball drop in gaming
it's
history.
bad. Yeah, it's bad.
It's so bad. But the 3DS is my favorite console of all time.
so kind of a
And
glimmer.
so it's but that's kind of it. I basically spent those years playing the 3DS.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
The Gen 9 I haven't liked, but I've liked a lot of the titles. There are some, like, if I just look at the volume of games that I've played and the quality of the individual games, I can't say that it's the worst.
Sure.
Like the Switch has been one of my least favorite Nintendo consoles ever made. And yet Xenoblade 3 is one of my favorite games ever made. And I think Breath of the Wild is an absolute unbelievable masterpiece.
Yeah.
And I think like the Prime recreation is one of the best remakes. It's like I have had a great time playing games that Nintendo has made in this era, even though I don't like the console.
Sure.
I don't like the philosophy
that
of
can
like
happen. Yeah, that can happen.
of like everything is a 3D Zelda and we don't have handhelds anymore.
Yeah.
Like our consoles got just moved into the push the handheld market. I don't like any of that, but I've loved a bunch of games on the Switch.
Sure.
Like so I can't say that just because it doesn't jive with me that it's my least favorite console generation. I've played so many good games on this console generation. And
not to mention that like Elden Ring came out this console.
Right.
Yeah.
And like Final
Exactly.
Fantasy VII Rebirth.
my
came
thing
out
about
this
that
generation.
is that this is why it's really difficult.
Yeah.
Those consoles have had good games, and I almost have always waited for them to come to PC because I just don't.
But that's fair
always
because they
trust
came
them
out
as much.
within the generation.
Yeah,
PC, like
exactly.
you said, is kind of the ever-flowing river. But if a game I feel like came out in the time period we're talking about,
Sure.
that's also what we're talking about.
But my thought about it is that something felt very inaccessible, where it's like the games would come out, and I'd be like, well, let me wait till it comes out to PC.
Sure.
And that's a weird thing to happen in a console generation.
Sure.
Like we would be like weirded out by that if like if a 64 game came out and we're like Mario 64 looks great, but I got to wait a year for it to come out on the 64 too that's sitting over
weird,
there.
yeah.
Like come out on my Macintosh in my parents' like living room, right? It's a weird generation right now. It's hard to kind of square. But all said, like these are phenomenal games. Final Fantasy 7R and Elden Ring. These are all phenomenal games. So just because there's like this weird little disconnect, I don't think it's worthy of dropping it down to the time when everyone was making garbage constantly. Like all the consoles were on fire. There was literally the 3DS and that was it. So I think it is Gen 8 for me. Is that like it is a even the good games hurt in the sense that it was like, oh my god, this great game came out on at this terrible time. It's like Xenoblade X, you know. There was a time when they're like, well, we just can't remake it because not only was the Wii U a bad console, it's also cursed. And any game that comes out on it can never be played again. Ooh.
Yeah.
Right.
They finally caught up and released most of their hidden gems.
So wait, so you said 8.
Everyone said 8 but you.
Oh,
you're
that's
the
right,
odd man
okay.
out.
You
You're
said
weird.
7.
We were. It's
So
funny
you
how
said
we're
7.
funny how we all
eerily
line
close.
up.
Well,
Yeah.
we lined up
Our favorite, all of our
relatively
favorite
close.
6.
I basically never
Well,
would have.
6 is the undisputed
Undisputed
king.
I never
let's, like,
would have thought that the three of us would line up. And
Yeah,
you would
you'd
be
be the
odd
dissenting
man
voice.
out.
Yeah.
My
I get- 'cause,
opinions
like-
on 7 are always sort
well-
of strange because a lot of people remember 7 so fondly.
Yeah.
And I
I do.
remember the Wii and DS really fondly.
Yeah.
But
See-
the thing is, I have a strange kinship with the 8th console generation because like I got married at the beginning of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the truth is like, and I'm not going to go into this too deep because it is an interesting subject. Where you're at in your life can really put
Absolutely.
things. And so like my life was in this new era, this like really exciting era that I'm still in.
Yeah.
But it was like kicking off that era. So like the Wii U has like maybe some of my favorite gaming memories with
some
my
incredible
brand new
games.
wife,
Okay.
like me and her getting to know each other and living together for the first time.
Yeah.
And like we're playing Hyrule Warriors together. Like
Yeah.
I didn't buy Hyrule Warriors on the Switch because I was like, I have like 100 hours and like it won't be the same.
Right.
Like, and so that's the thing. That's why I went with 7. It's just because,
And
I'll
it's-
get, especially
and
if the
it's funny-
PlayStation doesn't jive with you.
yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3 is on. I played Kingdom Hearts 3 on the Xbox One. Like, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze came out on the Wii U.
Mhm.
There's a lot of great games that I enjoyed on the PS4. I can't stress how much the PS3 and Xbox 360 to this day.
Yeah.
I was like at a retro game store and I was like, I should get a PS3, and I started looking at PS3 games and I was like, I shouldn't get a PS3.
It's funny because our experiences are just so different. Because I have so many fond memories of the PS3. I
Which
have
is surprising.
I have so many fond
We
memories.
didn't have
of
one
the Wii.
growing up,
I had a PS3.
No, yeah, we had a PS3.
did we?
What are you
Yeah.
But
talking
later,
about?
not like during.
I
its
got a Slim
time.
eventually, but I had
He
a
had a
PS3. Probably it was probably
Maybe
out
a
for 2 or 3
year,
years
or-
before
yeah,
I got it, but it wasn't
We
that long.
had a PS3.
I got an Xbox 360 like the year after it came out.
And-
I don't want to. I don't mean to
be
sound. I don't mean to
clear-
sound like Quentin. These guys are trying to trick me.
And to be
They're
clear,
tricking me.
I also have fond
Yeah.
memories of the Xbox 360. I have more fond memories of the PS3 because
Yeah.
the PS3 had quite a lot of games that I liked.
Well, you're wrong. But so we're gonna
All
let
right,
Quentin.
do
Get on
somewhat
with these favorite
struggle.
games. I'm
Yeah,
actually
what is
really,
your- what's your
I
favorite
want Quentin to
Gen
cap
A
it
game?
off.
I
So
do need
let's go in reverse order.
I do need to clarify.
Okay.
The question is phrased favorite games.
Oh,
Plural. So if you want to
Okay,
say
I
one on
see.
each console, or if you want to say two on,
I like
on one
that.
console, that's
Okay.
acceptable
I
within
just
the
have
parameters
the
of the question.
one because so like when talking about the Wii U, the
it has
obvious
to be
one,
one game.
the obvious one is Xenoblade
Just
X,
renege
right?
what
But that's
Quentin
not actually
said.
the one that comes to my mind
Hmm.
when I think
Really?
about like it is probably my favorite game on that console, but what I think about is that like it wasn't really a game on that console. It was a game that came out then. Like
Sure.
it's unfortunate that it was then.
That's
but
it, but isn't that
it
every
doesn't
game
fe-
that came out?
No,
on that?
but it's
It's
not.
unfortunate.
Nintendo Land. Holy cow,
Well,
that's a good
yeah.
game.
Yeah.
A launch,
Nintendo
yeah,
Land
the launch
has
title.
like at least at a minimum, it has 3 games on it that are like the greatest of all time party games.
Yeah.
Sometimes I honestly
Nintendo
think
Land,
that like
yeah.
we should break out the Wii U just to play Nintendo Land together.
Coming
Like
soon.
If you're
That would be a
really
lot
big
of
into
fun
like
for a house
skill,
party.
like hardcore skill games, the Metroid game on there where you're a bunch of little people fighting the gunship,
that is fun.
it is
yeah.
a 10 out of 10 game.
Do you guys
That's a fun
remember how
game.
like Rachel was obsessed with that
She
game?
was.
Yes.
She
Yeah,
loved
she
Metroid
loved it.
Blast.
Yeah.
Which I mean,
I love
she's got good
Luigi's
taste.
Mansion
It was
game.
a lot
It
of
was a
fun.
great
It's
game.
so
Luigi's
good.
Mansion
I
game
don't
was
know,
fun.
but this is the
Yeah.
reason I
Luigi's
say this.
Mansion was probably the best
If you
idea
said-
for a game.
If you said what games are Xenoblade X like, I can give you a laundry list of them.
Sure.
I'm like, here's all these other games that are like
Sure.
Xenoblade X. I think it's just probably one of the best of them.
Yeah.
Right? There's all sorts of games like that on bad consoles. If you said, give me a game like Luigi's Mansion, I'd be like, there's some like indie games that are not half as good that kind of
Kinda,
fall apart.
yeah.
Like you can turn. There's a mode in Among Us that's kind of that way, but it's not very good. And then there's Luigi's Mansion, which looks phenomenal. Everyone's screaming. One player can see a screen, and
Oh,
it's the same
yeah,
screen everyone
so
else can
good.
see.
To
Luigi's
clarify,
Mansion
you're talking about the
Luigi's Mansion mini game.
Nintendo Land.
Yes, the
on
Nintendo Land.
Yeah.
Nintendo Land, yeah.
I remember one time we had a party. 4 people are sitting on the couch. One guy is sitting behind them with the tablet, and there were like 20 people
Yeah.
They were just
all
watching.
gathered in the
Yeah,
living
they were
room
just watching. Yeah.
And when that ghost showed up at one point, when the flashlight just barely hit him, everyone in the room screamed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There was screaming and laughing.
There was a lot of energy. Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
like that feeling you got when you played Pokemon Go, walking down the street, and there's hundreds, maybe thousands of people. And you see
Pokemon
like
Go
friends and
2016,
like
yeah.
co-workers, right?
Yeah.
It was that feeling of like, I've never felt this way playing a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack in the Box games sometimes like
Jackbox,
give you
yeah, right.
Jackbox games kind of
Sure.
give you like a similar vibe.
It's nowhere close.
But it's nowhere close.
right.
They had Metroid. They had Mario Chasers. That was so
It was so
good.
good.
Where
Mario
you're playing as
Chasers
little
was really
toads, you're
fun.
running around. Like they had the Zelda one, the cooperative one, where you're all fighting your way
That
through.
one's
It was
really
actually
dope.
like when you turn it on the hard mode, it's tough.
It's actually
right.
tough,
Well,
yeah.
no,
The F-Zero one, super fun.
the
Yeah.
Donkey Kong one is like a skill game, and
Yeah.
you could get
It was like
so,
a game in a game.
Yeah, you could get so like into that where you
Yeah.
could just spend hours trying to get frame perfect on that little
Yeah.
tilting game.
No,
Yeah.
Nintendo Land. That's a good pick.
And the
That's a great
thing
pick.
was, it wasn't coincidental.
No.
It wasn't like Xenoblade, where I
No.
guarantee you the Switch one's better. I
Yeah.
guarantee it. It's not like it came. It's not even like Hyrule Warriors, where the Switch one was just better. The DS one was better in a lot of ways. It was they used the gimmick from this console, and they've never come close to that again.
Yeah.
Like
It is
yeah.
the best use of a console's gimmick, to be honest, of any
maybe ever.
console.
Yeah.
Because obviously everyone
You
thinks
literally
about
can't do it elsewhere.
you can't
Yeah.
do it elsewhere, and they did it very well. Everybody's gonna say, what about Wii Sports? Wii Sports.
No, not
everyone
even
and their
close.
grandma played it,
No,
and while that's true,
close, yeah.
what I just said about we should have a house party and break out the Wii U and
Yeah.
play those games again. I didn't say that about Wii Sports.
Right.
I've played Wii Sports like again
Yeah.
since then, and it's like
Yeah.
it's fun.
It's fun.
Wii
but
Sports
it's-
is fun.
Honestly,
It's a
they've
little more
made
novel,
new
yeah.
Wii Sports,
And they're
but they
better.
they
Uh-huh.
can't remake Nintendo Land.
Yeah.
No.
No, and
No.
again,
It's too dependent
I
on the
don't
hardware.
think
Like,
that
you could do it with two
the-
Switches.
You
You could do
but
it.
that's not-
You could do it with
yeah,
the
it's not
Switch
gonna
plugged up
happen.
to the television and a second player playing a Switch.
Yeah,
Not
that's-
really the same thing.
not the
though.
same thing,
No,
really.
really.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, but
The
okay,
touchscreen was
That's a
also
good- that's a good
very
pick,
like
yeah.
the
Nintendo Land is a very
touchscreen
good
on
pick.
the Wii U feels like a toy, and the
Yeah.
touchscreen on the Switch feels
like your phone. It's
like
the
your
same thing.
phone,
Yeah.
and it doesn't quite have that. Like I'm always afraid to touch my screen on the Switch because like it's the screen and I don't want fingerprints all over it and like rubby little
yeah,
rubby
'cause
little
it's
hands.
the primary
It's-
screen.
When it
And it's
already
always
has a
just
big
a-
toy with it, like the stylus is a big toy,
Yeah.
and it's got
Yeah.
texture to it, and it's kind of weird.
The touchscreen on Wii U also was a guaranteed thing. On the
Yeah.
Switch, no one's going to lean on it too hard because
I
then in
forget that
dock,
it's a touchscreen all the time.
Yeah, because in dock, well, I mean, if it tells you anything, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, you can't you'll be on the menu and sometimes I'll forget you can't
Can't
use
use
it.
it. So do you have any games from the other consoles on the generation, or you just Wii U?
On that generation, so that generation also has the PlayStation 4
Mhm.
Correct.
and
And your favorite, the Xbox One.
the Xbox One.
the console you love dearly.
If I'm well,
You can say no. It's
not.
it's okay
really.
to it's okay to
So,
say no.
Me and Quentin once when we sat around. This is after the console was out, long after the console was out, and played a good majority of Metal Gear Solid 4.
Sure.
And
But that was
that
a
was-
PS3 game.
was that
That
on
is a PS3
yeah, that's a
game.
PS3.
Yeah.
Both Metal Gear
when we
Solid
played
4
it was-
and 5 were released on the PS3.
5 was on the PS3.
Yeah.
It has a
Yeah.
PS4 version.
Yeah.
But it was
But it
released
was
on the
initially
PS3.
launched, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it was the era that it was
Uh-huh.
in was the Wii U era when me and you played
yeah,
through
the-
it. So
the-
I guess my brain
Because I was
defaults
say
to that.
console, the Generation 8, Generation 8 only has one Metal Gear game on it, and that is Metal Gear Survive.
Oh,
You liked Final Fantasy VII Remake, though.
Another reason why Gen 8
Remake-
is so awful.
Yeah.
remake
Um,
is high up there. Final Fantasy
15 was on
15
there.
as
Yep.
well. Yeah, 15 was really good. Just tragedy that it never got finished, but it was
that is
good.
sad.
I still say that like it has some of the series best.
Yeah.
in it. So 15 was up there.
Yeah.
Remake was
Yeah.
up there.
Mhm.
I actually liked the Soul Calibur in that era too.
I didn't.
Yeah, Soul
I don't even
Calibur
remember.
6.
Soul Calibur
Yeah.
6.
I think it's
solid.
I don't
probably
think I don't think I
It's up
played
there
Soul
as
Calibur
some of the
6,
best.
so.
Yeah.
Some of the best.
So Ty,
Well, Ty,
back
give
to
us-
Gen
yeah.
8.
This
you
is-
can't pick
yeah.
Nintendo Land.
I can't pick Nintendo Land.
Quentin's
This one is
rules.
super easy for me because I gotta say that like while it's my least favorite generation of the ones we were considering, it's kind of just barely. I still liked Gen 8 a
Yeah.
lot. I still had a lot of fond memories. I think probably easily my favorite game from Gen 8 though is The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. It's just an incredible game.
Okay.
I was kind of not counting.
Yeah, I was not
It's
gonna.
just
I was
incredible.
gonna.
3DS.
Yeah,
because I liked
you
it
can,
too much.
To be clear, you can do whatever you want.
I'm
to do
gonna
with this.
list. I'm gonna list
was,
several.
I was excluding the 3DS.
I was shocked that
And-
you didn't say any 3DS
No,
games, but I guess
no.
you were just.
This is my thing. Is
ignoring
I'm
them.
excluding the 3DS
I was
in the
just-
sense that
I'd
when I
never
think
run out
of
of things to say.
least favorite console generation, the 3DS is incredible.
It just doesn't count.
But for the purposes,
I mean, a lot of people
highlighting
split
hidden
mobile and
Yes.
home consoles.
Well,
but
for the
yeah.
for the purposes of highlighting the hidden gems on the generation,
Yeah.
I was like, it's not really a hidden gem if I choose Nintendo
none of
3DS,
none of
one of
mine
the
are
best-selling consoles.
none of
in the
mine are
world.
hidden gems
You
either.
know, everybody loves
because
these
the thing
games.
is, like, these were any console generation you go to
Yeah.
is gonna have not just like every one of them's gonna have non-hidden incredible games.
Of
You know what I
course.
mean?
Right.
And so, like, for PlayStation, I was thinking about Final Fantasy VII Remake, but I was also thinking about one of my favorite video games of all time, which is Red Dead Redemption 2. Like,
Oh.
an absolutely
yeah.
amazing game, premiered on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And so, like, an incredible, that's an incredible game. Go back around to the Wii U. I think about Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
So
Probably
good.
my favorite game on the console.
So good.
It's just that's not a remake.
Almost unbelievable.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Lightning struck twice.
Lightning,
Somehow,
I don't know
and
how
struck
they did
harder
it.
the second
Reddit, it's not Reddit. Retro Studios, baby. They can do no wrong.
Reddit
Yeah.
Studio would make
Reddit
the worst
Studio
single
would make
games
the
ever
worst
made.
games ever
They
made.
would butcher Donkey.
Um,
It would be called
and so,
Undertale.
That was a little more Tumblr, I think, than
Yeah, fair.
Reddit. But
Yeah.
You know more.
You
than
know.
that.
I think the one I'm having a hard time like picking out some great games is kind of the Xbox One
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
I could go
Like
with Halo,
dedicated
like
games.
Halo 4,
Mhm.
but I didn't love Halo 4.
Right.
Xbox
never
One
really
is
played
the
it.
era where they're putting on a good face, but
Yeah.
like the divorce papers have been signed.
Yeah,
They're
right.
almost-
They're living a
They're
lie at
almost
this
there.
point.
They've been separated.
Well,
Yeah.
Xbox One was the only console of that generation that I didn't play at all. I didn't have an Xbox One.
Oh, another game that came out
To play.
in that generation that I forgot about, but I'm remembering now is Nier Automata. That was a great game.
Oh yeah.
Automata.
Oh my god.
Mhm.
But I don't want to steal all the great games and leave you with
I was about to
nothing.
say you with nothing.
Because I definitely think I sniped a couple of yours.
You sniped one.
on there. Definitely Red Dead. Right?
You know what's funny was
Really?
is that I
think
was not
Cameron likes
I was
that
not
game
going to
more than
pick
you
Red
do.
Dead.
Yeah.
While
Interesting.
Red Dead is absolutely incredible,
Yeah.
I played that game quite late.
Oh, fair.
I did not
Yeah.
play
Yeah.
that when that generation was going
Yeah,
on.
that's fair.
I got on the Red Dead train really late to the party,
Yeah.
so I wasn't going to consider that.
Not
I
too
was-
late. I'm still not there.
Well, that's a good point. You still haven't
Yeah.
gotten
I
to
was
it
a
yet.
little late to Red Dead 2. I also played it on PC, but like Ethan took all my other PlayStation games, which was the Final
Okay.
Fantasies,
Yeah, right, yeah, right.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And
They're kind
so
of
I
the
would-
gimmies, though.
They're
'cause
the
Dev
gimmies.
definitely mentioned those.
Absolutely, absolutely true. I remember I had a really great Japanese game that I bought from I discovered in that era that you could create a Japanese PlayStation account and that you could get these little cards that just for a very
Preloaded.
nominal fee.
Yeah,
They had you could get yen for the Japanese PlayStation store, and so I bought a game called Gundam vs. Gundam Maxi Boost On,
yeah.
and it's
Wow.
a phenomenal game.
It finally came to the States. I have it on PS5.
And is
Did it
still
really?
called-
I didn't
is,
know
Is
that.
it still called Maxi Boost On?
It is still called
Yeah.
Maxi Boost.
Wow.
It's incredible. I
Wow.
forgot that came to the
Okay.
States.
Yeah, the sequel to that one came to the States.
Oh,
So it's
Gundam
Maxi.
Versus came to the States.
Gundam Versus and Maxi Boost 2 came to the
Maxi Boost there's a Maxi Boost 2?
You
I
can
had
play
no
as Sandra.
idea.
That's why I got
I
it.
feel like
no
I'm in a
idea.
sitcom
Yeah, this is
because
really-
the words "there's a Maxi Boost too"
There's
feels
a
like a bad
Maxi
writer
Boost
came
feels
up
like a
with.
bad
Like, am I
writer,
on
yeah.
Big
No
Bang
idea.
Theory where like the
Yeah.
writers
Well,
only
like
kind
the
of know
original
video
Gundam
games?
Versus was a sequel to Maxi Boost, but it wasn't great, and so they just
No.
went back to Maxi Boost with Maxi
guess
Boost
so.
On,
Yeah, I guess
and
so.
I guess they made a Maxi Boost 2.
Real.
So Maxi Boost, that's what
Maxi
you're,
Boost.
That's what you're
That was a
highlighting.
great
Sheldon Devon's about to burst into the room.
No,
Just drop some light.
never do that.
Okay.
But yeah, so those are some of my highlights.
enough.
And you could do anything on the 3DS. Like you could just pick.
With the 3DS,
games.
there was 10,000
So
games.
many
and all
Fantasy
of them were
Life,
great.
Ever Oasis, Kirby's Epic Yarn Dream, or whatever.
Well, I'll take
it
us
was
out
called.
of Gen 8
Gen
for a
8.
second.
Thank God.
Bring
Yeah.
us to Gen 7.
I wish I'd said Gen 3.
Air.
I wish I'd said Gen 3 because then at least it would have been a little more diverse.
No, I'll
what are
say
your favorite games in the
I'll say that
least
it could be
favorite
it could be really easy for me to highlight the Wii because
Yeah.
Gen 7's not my favorite generation, but
It's
I love the
full of
Wii.
great games.
I loved the DS. So like obviously games like Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2, Skyward Sword. I'm a huge Mario Kart guy, and Mario Kart DS was the first Mario Kart I really dove into.
Yeah.
Like I was a kid and I just sort of messed around with Mario Kart. I never like played it in order to get better.
Mm-hmm.
But like the DS was the first one where I was like, I'm gonna get star rank on every single cup.
Yeah. Started the obsession.
It doesn't get enough love, I don't think. Mario Kart DS is still one of my favorites. I still love the mechanics.
I have a lot of fun
Snaking
memories
kinda breaks it,
of
but-
DS and Wii. Both both of those.
Wii's pretty infuriating. Its items were broken.
Well, and also
even at the
forcing
time,
the wheel.
No, they didn't. You could use
didn't force
GameCube.
the
Oh, I guess you could use a GameCube.
Yeah,
You could use a
I used the
nunchuck.
wheel. Yeah,
But,
you could use all
you
kinds
know,
of stuff. But I feel like
think
I was
that game's
kind of like mean to PSP. So I'm gonna go to PSP and say that like the reason I had bad experiences was because like me and you shared a PSP.
And I had a great
He
time
was
with
a
it.
Yeah,
jerk.
And Quentin
I had a-
hogged it. No, I'm just kidding.
Because
No, but
it was
you
terrific.
were a child,
and I loved it.
and so
Crawling on
there
your
was
knees.
many times where like my PSP was broken, and like the battery
true.
pack was. It's still sitting in the other room
the back
I'm
would
sure.
get
because a
broken.
child was using it a
Yeah.
lot of times.
Yeah.
No, but
It is the second that
Or-
that PSP was not the first,
No.
but the second time
Yeah.
that Quentin spilled Pepto-Bismol on a handheld
Oh,
console.
second
I don't know
time.
how
we
he
have
kept
two
doing
consoles
it.
that have
Yeah.
Pepto-Bismol.
Why were
pink
you taking
Pepto-Bismol.
so much Pepto-Bismol?
It wasn't for me.
You and your-
Oh.
It wasn't for me. It was just open. Well, no, and I would return it like completely uncharged,
Yeah.
or like with one of the the UMDs. Is that what the
That's the thing the cartridge.
right? I would
Yeah.
leave those like in crooked, and so it wouldn't close right. I was a terrible person to share a
I
console
told you
with. But
so many times that the PSP battery
Dredging
charger
some things
was
up.
not plugged up. Ty lost the cable to it, and it was not plugged up. And every time I would get the PSP back from him, there'd be no battery in it, and I'd be like, "Quentin, where's the battery? Is that a charger?" And I'm like, "It doesn't charge," and then he would just run away.
I would just leave.
He would just leave.
I was like, well, it's just
You
Devon.
ruined the PSP.
But I will say the contrasting experience here is I had a great time with the PSP.
yeah, of course.
I
You
played
stole it all
I
the
played
time.
it constantly. I had so much
Yeah.
fun.
No, but I'll say to not be
Terrific
too long
Monster
in the
Hunter.
tooth with it. I
Dissidia.
think that like,
Come on.
Monster Hunter Tri was in the 7th generation. Love that game. I'll say that like, you're right. Square Enix, really carried the PSP
A lot of heavy
for me.
lifting.
Oh yeah.
I love Crisis Core.
Mm-hmm.
I love Birth by Sleep. I do feel like the PSP really inhibited my experience with those games because they were just too big. And like, there's a loading screen for the pause menu in Birth by Sleep.
That's true.
The game the console couldn't handle the game.
Yeah, that game gave me post-traumatic stress as a
Yeah.
child. I did not have
But
a
I
good experience
loved
with
that game so much, and I loved just Dissidia and Dissidia NT. Such good games.
Yeah.
So those were definitely big highlights for me on the console.
It was Dissidia Duodecim.
Duodecim.
Dissidia NT is
on the-
garbage.
yeah.
It's arcade.
The other one that I'll highlight, Quentin will really like this, because I was also kind of mean to the PS3 and Xbox 360. But I forgot about this. Sonic Generations was a PS3 game.
Yeah, it was.
Sonic Generations
Might be like the best post-Sonic Adventure Sonic game. It's really
Yeah,
good.
I think Sonic Colors was better.
that's
no,
fair.
I'm just gonna
Yeah,
say
that's
that
fair.
Sonic Generations is the only passable Sonic game that was released.
Oh, no, I don't know, Sonic-
Did you say Generations or
Force
I remember
Generations.
Sonic 4 being
Generations
okay.
is probably
But-
the best. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you're right.
And you were thinking Unleashed.
I thought you
yeah.
said Unleashed, and I was
No.
like,
The Werehog ruined it for me.
Sonic 4 is pretty good.
Sonic 4 is fun.
Sonic
Episode
4.
2.
You know,
Oh,
John
yeah.
Carpenter
Yeah.
loves every Sonic game ever, and he specifically mentioned that he loves Sonic Unleashed, the one with the werehog.
Is that why you
John
don't like John
Carpenter.
Carpenter?
No, I love John Carpenter. He makes
Interesting.
great
Okay.
movies.
Okay.
He just has terrible taste in video games.
So yeah, that's what I'll highlight, just because we're
Yeah.
we're running a little long, so I don't want to take too much time. But that's what I like.
Sure.
okay.
Sorry, Quentin, we're out of time for you.
All right.
Well,
moving
I gotta
on.
say,
Games I haven't-
I appreciate you going
Yeah.
with that because it did push me
Yeah.
in memory lane about Gen 7 a little bit. Gen 7 is terrific. I love Gen 7.
I will say,
Weird.
Gen 7's my least favorite, but it's not like I hate it. Like I can't think of
No,
a console,
sure.
single console generation that I hate.
No, me either.
like I say, Gen 8 and 9 are rough for me, but
Sure.
haven't played Gen 9, so I can't consider it. But
Yeah.
Gen 8, Ty mentioned one of the ones that I was going to go with, which was Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze it takes Donkey Kong Donkey Kong Country Returns that was on the Wii, and it says, look at all these things that we shouldn't have done. That, Retro was sitting
you
in
didn't
there.
like the blowing mechanic.
Retro was in their studio making a good game, and Shigeru Miyamoto would occasionally appear behind them and say, like,
Apparate.
he would just appear and he would say, do something stupid, make this worse, right? And then he'd disappear, and then they would do it, right? They'd be like, yes, Mr. Miyamoto, right? Well, with tears welling in their eyes, right?
Sure.
Because
This is a
Sounds
real
accurate.
thing that
Retro
definitely happened.
wants to make a good game, but
Right.
they were hindered by Nintendo's request.
Still made a good game.
for stupid
Country
little
Returns
things.
was great.
Country Returns is good, but when you play it and then play Tropical Freeze immediately
There's
after.
a big quality
Tropical Freeze
difference.
is the greatest Donkey Kong game ever made.
I agree.
And for me to
agree.
say that, is pretty
That's a
crazy.
big deal.
That's
yeah.
a big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, you're not a
because-
Donkey Kong hater. You love
No,
all
I
the
love
series,
Donkey
yeah.
Kong. So Tropical Freeze is the greatest game.
You wanna know
that
something
they've
really
ever
funny?
made.
I didn't play it at first because I don't like ice mechanics in games.
Yeah,
and I was
right.
just like,
You're crazy.
I'm like, ice
You're
mechanics,
crazy.
Donkey Kong game.
God.
that
You
doesn't
read
sound-
the
I
title.
That
You
doesn't
read the
sound
title.
very fun.
I played
Oh my God.
Returns with you,
Yeah.
and I played Tropical Freeze with Devon because you didn't want to play
Yeah.
Returns.
Yeah, I was like, I just don't like
Yeah.
ice mechanics
Yeah.
in platformers, and I think that would pair bad. And then Ty eventually talked me into playing it.
yeah.
No,
It's gotta
did
be.
play it
It's gotta be
eventually.
your worst old
was
man
good.
moment.
That is your worst
really
old man
good.
moment.
Yeah,
Biggie.
freeze! I don't want to freeze.
Like,
it's too cold
no.
out there. I'm going
This
to
is
stay inside.
100% old
I
man.
should have
yelling
forced
at a
him to play as
cloud,
Cranky Kong.
Ethan is.
Oh, I
Cranky
did play
Kong.
it. I played the whole thing.
Yeah,
as
he's
Cranky
great.
Kong.
He's
So
great.
this is my
He's
thing.
the
Is,
best.
so obviously you've got the best Donkey Kong game
So
ever
good.
is on this console.
So
So
good.
I can't go without just saying it again.
Yeah,
That
sure.
is. The other thing I was going to say is that this is the console of 2 re-releases
Yeah.
that are very good. Now I know a re-release is not. It's kind of a cheap shot because we're talking
It's
about
part of the history.
pre-established games.
And you're talking
but-
about your experience, so yeah.
But when they released Wind Waker
Mhm.
HD,
Oh yeah.
I played that and played
loved
it
it.
again and played it again.
Yeah, I loved it.
Because huge Wind Waker fan. I think
Yeah.
me and Devon are in union on this. That Wind Waker is like
It's my favorite Zelda game.
Yes,
yeah.
it's as far as the 3D Zelda games go, it's just so phenomenal.
Yeah.
So when they re-released it, I was so excited to play it again. I was so excited to not do the Triforce quest when I was told that was not going
It's
to be
the
in
most
I was like,
replayable
This is great.
version of the Wind Waker.
Loved the speed sail.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't like some of the changes. They think it should be
Sure.
preserved. That's fine. I thought the changes were great.
Yeah.
So that was terrific.
The Wii U gamepad being able to like pull your items out and stuff.
The Wii U then proceeded to never have a good game ever again. It had nothing. It was trash.
You liked 3D World, Mario 3D World.
Oh yeah.
And
I
as
really
you
liked
admitted,
it.
you
I
didn't
had-
play Xenoblade X.
I didn't play Xenoblade X, so I can't comment on that. 3D World, Mario 3D World, I had fun playing it with you.
Yeah.
We have to make a distinction here.
It's a really solid game though.
I am not a huge
agree.
fan of Mario in that format, is I think the main issue, right?
I
Um,
was traumatized with that game.
Oh wait, your
Uh,
favorite game from that era. I can tell you what it is right now.
I know what you're about to say, I think, but go ahead.
Mario Kart 8.
Oh.
I did not play Mario Kart 8 until it got onto the Switch.
That's not true.
Hmm?
Here's a photo of Quentin playing Mario Kart 8. at a
Oh,
GameStop.
at the kiosk. At the kiosk.
Yeah.
No.
He's a liar. I'm trying to tell you guys this this whole podcast.
When
since
Quinn
episode
called
1.
Devon out, I knew this was going to
I
happen.
did.
That Devon would
I
retaliate.
did
You've been waiting
play
for
it.
that ever since he
Yeah.
called you.
I have.
Yeah.
He's
I
a
did-
liar.
I
He
did not.
lies. You just saw him lie. We recorded it. Slow it down. Play it back, me.
Let me clarify. I did not play through that game
Okay,
until I got it on the Wii or on the Nintendo Switch. That game, that console, the Nintendo
You
Switch.
okay?
Yeah.
So,
So give us your closing
no.
thoughts on the games.
Those games are all terrific. That's my closing thought on that.
Right.
Next thing I'm just gonna say real quick is we had the PS4,
Mhm.
and the PS4 had Uncharted, Drake's Fortune. Not Drake's Fortune. Uncharted.
3. Uncharted 4.
Thieves End. Is that
Uncharted 4,
Was it
Thieves
4?
End is the only one that's exclusive.
I was trying to get the
Yeah.
subtitle correct. I know it
That's
was
the first
4,
4.
but I think it's a Thieves End or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think Ty just said.
Thieves End. In case you're wondering,
I think
so-
it's
I
Thieves
think
End.
it's called A Thieves End.
I played
At
that.
Thieves End.
I played that several times, and
Mhm.
part of that was that there was nothing else for me to play on the PS4.
Yeah.
Right? There was no games
Right.
of interest to play on the PS4, but I played that and was astonished by it.
Mm.
Like, I didn't just like that game when I first played it. I loved it. I was very happy with it. I loved how they changed up the gameplay a little bit. They took the cinematic style of the previous games
Yeah.
and they did good work with it. I don't necessarily think that it's the best game in the series, but it was a phenomenal game on a console that I had, let me repeat, nothing to play on with it.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything to play on the PS4, but I did play that, and I thought it was, just like
Very good.
really great. Didn't own an Xbox, didn't play an Xbox, don't know what games came out for the Xbox at that time.
I really only
Can't
played
even
Kingdom
spell
Hearts.
Xbox.
I can't even spell
I
any.
have no idea what's
So
going
yeah,
on.
that's
First
our
3 letters.
favorite games
favorite
on our
games,
least
our least
favorite
favorite
generation.
gen.
What's your favorite games from your least favorite generation?
Yeah.
Tell us in the comments down below.
But don't tell us which generation it is. Let us guess.
Let us
Oh,
guess.
no, don't do
'Cause
that.
Google
no,
doesn't
don't do
exist.
that. I
And
want to
apparently
know. I'm
we
not
don't
Googling
know.
it.
Apparently we don't know.
Where's the Sega Genesis?
Is it
at?
Genesis?
There was some
Well, guys, we're
confusion
gonna-
on that side
On
of the,
that side
the
of
couch
where it is, yeah.
about confusions about
You get
console
lumped in
generation.
with it.
I still think I'm
you're all
right.
old
You both
men.
pointed directly
I
at me.
still think I was
I was
right
gonna
about
say-
the Genesis being at 87.
Well, it's
All
a
right,
good
guys,
thing
we
that it was
got to
on the
wrap up
screen.
this whirlwind of a podcast. We're
Right.
talking about some games we haven't played, but we got strong opinions about.
opinion.
Guys, welcome to Games I Haven't Played, but I have strong opinions about. It's a game where you say a game you haven't played, you say your strong opinion. Nobody gets to ask you any questions about it, except for you guys. You can ask us all the questions you want.
Yeah.
In
And tell
the
us some games you
comments
haven't played.
below. We know that we have such an active commenter section.
We do.
They're very active.
We're very
Well,
active on there.
The 4 of us are very active.
Yeah.
there.
The 3
But
of
I
us
see
are very
you, Best
active on
Busami. I see
there.
you, Stevie Meeks. You're there. I see
Yeah.
you.
They're lurking.
We haven't called Best Busami out. They're a great
Yeah.
supporter of the channel.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah.
for being here.
Thanks for
being
Busami.
here.
You are the best
Also,
Busami.
You
Stevie
are.
Meeks has been
Best
popping
one.
off.
Stevie Meeks.
Steve's
His
great.
videos are
Doing
so
great.
good these days.
They're so good.
His video about play
Always
bad
have
video
been.
games.
I love
10
it.
out of 10.
I love it.
Really good.
All right,
Really good.
Ty,
Does
give us your
Busami make video games? Or sorry, make
Video games.
Does he make
I
videos?
don't know. We
about
should
video
find that
games?
out. Ty, give us your game you haven't played.
The game I haven't played
Right.
is I have not played the Uncharted
this.
Lost Legacy.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, the sequel to
to
4,
Uncharted 4.
right?
But I think it is perhaps the most unnecessary video game ever made.
I wish I could comment,
But
not,
you can't.
not negatively or
No
positively.
questions,
I
no
just,
comments.
We'll have to talk about it after because I have
That's the
thoughts
spirit
about
of the
that.
game.
Mhm.
Guys, do you know? Wouldn't you know it? I've never played Red Dead Redemption.
You mentioned that earlier, in fact.
Right. But I don't think there is any redeeming it because the series is dead.
That is a strong opinion.
That is a way to hurt a lot of
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Red Dead
That is
Redemption.
Fans,
It's
please,
dead.
Please pick up the Pokemon fans on the way out.
That really
Yeah.
hurts my feelings.
I'm just
Right.
getting back at Cameron because
Yeah.
if she had showed up, we would have at least had one
Yeah.
producer.
That is a good
And
point.
this podcast wouldn't be an unmitigated disaster.
It is
Yeah.
kind of a disaster.
Would have gone better. Yeah.
Quentin, go.
Not that bad.
No.
All right, Ethan, go.
So, I have never played Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh.
Oh.
I never played it. I'm working my way through the Metal Gear games for the
Very
last few
slowly.
years, very slowly, because 3 is
You're having trouble. with
cacophony of nightmares to try and find the right emulation and play it. Yeah, it's
Just play
awful.
Delta when it comes out.
I guess. My really strong opinion about Metal Gear Solid 4, the plot is not that hard to understand.
Oh,
It's very simple.
Yeah.
Super easy. It's all very straightforward.
what a chill
I
strong
don't
opinion.
get why people are like, this game is impossible to understand. And I'm like, no. You just have to see Hideo Kojima, right? You look at his eyes and you go, oh, I get it. Done.
Makes sense now.
Everyone is being a big baby.
It's the
when they-
same with Kingdom Hearts when people are like,
Yep.
Kingdom Hearts is confusing. I'm like, do you also get confused when someone waves their hand in front of your face? Like,
I do.
Are you
Yeah.
confused by the block
I was
puzzles?
talking.
Well,
Go, Quentin.
you
Go
know,
to a game you haven't
let's
played.
see, let's see. Like I said, there's a lot of games on Gen 8
Right.
that I've not played. A lot of games.
We can
on
play the
Gen
game where I
9.
throw one at you.
Oh, well, let's do that.
You want me to throw one at you?
Yeah, just
I'll try to pick,
cast one
I'll
out.
try to pick a Gen 8 game.
Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, that.
Sly
Yeah.
Cooper. How about that?
Oh,
Yeah.
those games that I haven't
obscure
played.
games.
Oh wait, Ratchet and Clank the movie, the video game.
There's no way I am giving an opinion about Ratchet and Clank, the video movie, game.
The video game. It's a video game tie-in to the movie that's about a game.
That is the
Why didn't they do that
sickest
with
thing
Mario?
I have ever.
How do you feel about it?
I don't see that one. I don't even know about. I can't give an
Oh,
opinion
okay.
about that one. I don't even know. I didn't know that existed.
Right, because Quentin knows so much about the games that he gives strong opinions.
Well, I
about.
think I have. Look at my track record. Give me a game that I would know but have not played.
I don't know. Yeah, give him one.
Alien Colonial Marines.
Alien Colonial Marines. Wow. The Alien franchise. As
Yep.
if we needed more of that. Here's my opinion about Alien Colonial Marines. Do you remember the hit film by James Cameron? It was, he made this movie called...
Avatar?
No, he made a different movie that was also terrible. It's
Terminator
called...
2.
No, he made a different movie that's also terrible.
Titanic.
He made a different movie that's also terrible.
Avatar, The Way of
Sphere.
Water.
He
Avatar 2.
made another movie that was also terrible.
The Abyss.
He made another movie that was also terrible.
Prometheus.
He didn't make that one.
Aha.
Got him.
Stitched him up.
He didn't make that
Tripped
one.
in.
Just tell us about aliens with an S.
So he made this movie
Terminator
called
1.
Aliens that is the most uncreative title that he possibly could have gone with on account of the fact that he's a hack Hollywood fraud.
It's like if they called
Okay.
Jurassic Park 2 Jurassic Parks.
Parks. Yeah.
It's actually pretty funny.
The second island. All right.
Right.
So he made this movie that was incredibly uncreative.
Right.
It butchered H.R. Geiger's designs.
60 seconds.
It was absolutely terrible.
Certified hater.
In
Yeah,
this
certified hater.
in this hack fraud film for fools and
Right.
failures, okay,
Okay.
he made the Colonial Marines. They're
Right.
prominently featured in the film. They kill these unkillable aliens from the first film with their guns. It's stupid.
They forgot
do
to
it.
try that the first time.
It's stupid, and I hate it. I am an aliens hater. So when you say, there's a video game called Aliens Colonial Marines, immediate write-off. Immediately goes in the wood chipper. All right? Bring me every copy, digital and otherwise. It'll go in a digital wood chipper, it'll go in a physical wood chipper. And so will James Cameron. This
wood
is
chipper.
a terroristic threat. I don't like it. I don't like
well,
games
that's
based on that.
That's the perfect way to end this completely.
He like
disaster.
signs it with a flourish.
I know.
This is a terroristic threat.
I don't like it.
The whole
So
thing.
that's yeah.
There you go.
That's my opinion.
your
I don't.
opinion.
You
I don't
heard
like
it here, guys. Quinn's a terrorist.
Well, we're back
I
to
don't like it.
unpublishable.
Yeah.
Rachel's been gone
Got that
for
right.
one
She leaves
episode.
for one
Well,
episode.
you
we
know,
qualify.
it's not
Can't
my
air
fault.
this.
You asked me something that intersected
With terrorists.
well,
True.
no, I was going to say intersected with a movie that I hate
Yeah.
and video game that I hate.
I mean, I picked
and
it.
you put those
You
together.
did it to us.
And James Cameron, yeah.
Guys, if
Oh.
you're still here,
thanks.
how?
How did you make it?
This video didn't go live. How did you
How?
watch it?
You wait. You
Are
got
you-
into.
Are you watching us from the other room?
Yeah.
Wait, did you
Huh?
get into the private
No,
servers?
guys, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
If you want people to see, if you like train derailments, that's what this was.
That's what this was.
Uh,
if you want more of this kind of episode,
You're not
let's
getting
get
it.
this up to 500 views.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's
See
do
if
it.
you can do it.
Rhett and Link are never going to have such a massive drop in the quality
No.
in one of their podcasts.
No,
It's
they
not
would
gonna
never
happen.
let it
can
happen.
only happen here.
That can
Only
only
here.
happen
Tune
here.
in each week
And
to
it might
see if
happen
we
any
just
week.
if we just completely derail.
One week we might just even like lose the microphone.
Just
You just start getting
please
real
get in the comments
quiet.
and just please get in the comments and just wish Rachel a fast recovery.
Yeah, Rachel, please come back. For
Get in the
goodness
comments
sake,
and just
Rachel,
mess
come back.
around in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, and guys,
silly little
here's an
help us-
idea.
Help us get to Quentin's rambliness was probably hard to tell what we were talking about. Help us get to 500 subscribers.
Yeah,
I think I was
by
very
the end of
subscriber
today, or we're shutting this channel
Not
down.
then.
I
not
was
then.
very succinct and clear about the subscriber
Yeah,
goal
Made perfect sense.
being,
Of course,
wait a
yeah.
minute, 500 in the bag.
No, that's true.
500
You did a good job.
subscribers
And Rachel come
by
back
September.
into the room long enough into this podcast.
No, I don't think so. We have to. We have to just do it by
do
doing
it.
Too
this.
much chaos.
Goodbye, guys.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for watching.
Goodbye.
We're not coming back.